Yo, what up, y'all? Path of Exile 2 0.3 reveal. We have 6 more minutes to go until it starts. Bear with me. We're going to be chilling for 6 minutes. Hope everyone is doing good. If you're catching this as a VOD, well, if you're catching this as a VOD, you probably know some of the news already. But subscribe, like the video. Man, it feels like it's been so long since I talked about Path of Exile 2. And now we're about to get some news for the new update, man. Just a reminder to everyone that the 0.3 release is August 29th. So after today, I believe they're releasing the patch notes for the update. So we've got about a week to look at the new things, the things that are changing, and then plan ahead for a starter build. Hopefully I can get a starter build out before the league starts. But yeah. Stick around, Lugo HQ on YouTube, Kick, and Twitch. Shoot me a follow on there as well. We're definitely gonna be playing this game a lot when it does drop on August 29th. Have to make some build guides for the community. Okay. Let me eat my vitamins, bro. Welcome in. Welcome in. It's a little different type of stream today because I'm going over some gaming news. So yeah. Grab your snacks. Yes, grab your snacks. I got some snacks too. What's the story of the game? So the game is in early access right now, so the story is not finished, but they're going over like a big update for it, so they're adding a bunch of new things. So we both are going to be finding out more things about the story. Right, 2 more minutes. And today has been sheesh. see. All right. It's like counting down for the New Year. Happy New Year. All right, y'all. 10 seconds, and then we get 0.3 reveal. Let's do it. Path of Exile 2, baby.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers from
What's
Grinding
up,
Gear
Jonathan?
Games, and welcome to
Let's
GGG
get it,
Live.
baby.
Today we're going to show you an exclusive reveal of what's coming next for Path of Exile 2.
But
Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream, so you'll be able to claim your Sun Priest's Incineration rare finisher effect by following the instructions below. Now with that out of the way, let's get started. It's time to give you a teaser of what's coming in Path of Exile 2, the Third Edict.
the Third Edict. It's gonna be tough to say sometimes.
Karui! I have called you here to save
that the
our
druid?
people, to save our way. Over the ages, we have known pain like no other, but we endured, and we became mighty.
That's gotta be the druid, y'all.
Now, outsiders dishonor our shores, and we have stood by, doing nothing. Hear my voice, ancestors! Show us your strength! Show us the true way! I understand.
Ooh. Oh yeah, the monk. This stupid bird. Wow. They're showing a lot of new areas.
The true Makura Makoi will rise.
Okay. There it is, the first big thing. New acts. 35 new areas. 24 new bosses. Wow. Support gem overhaul. Massive skill work. Oh my goodness. Sprinting? New traits, sprinting, new trade system. What? That was so many things just right off the bat. Oh, we're getting... Oh my god, we're getting Abyssal, bro. I don't mind that. I love doing Abyss in Path of Exile 1. I always found that really fun. There it is. Nice. So that was, I guess, the trailer.
As you can see, there's a lot going on, and we have a lot to reveal today. We'll start by going over Act 4, the next chapter in the Path of Exile 2 storyline.
Okay, so we get an action
There's also
act.
3 new interlude acts to get you to endgame, which means we're removing cruel difficulty too. After that, we'll be going through the
Okay,
massive
they're
changes to
moving cruel
characters.
difficulty.
I'm super excited to show you how I've overhauled the entire support gem system, added new skills, and yes, there are buffs. Next,
Oh
we'll
my
go over the
god,
rise
dude,
of the
they
Abyssal,
overhauled the
this
whole
season's
skill
exclusive league
system.
mechanic, and talk about the new rewards,
That's
crafting
gonna be
systems, areas, and
insane,
bosses that it
bro.
adds. After that, it's on to changes we're making to the endgame. Then it's time to talk about items, crafting, and oh yeah, trade. That's going to be a big one. We'll then go over our new supporter packs and finish up with a live Q&A session where Ziggy D will ask Path of Exile 2's game directors, myself and Mark, your questions from Twitch chat. And after that, at 4 p.m. Pacific, patch notes. They're not quite complete, but they should give you some nice details to chew
Oh yeah,
on.
Khan, thank you for the follow
We've got a
on
lot to
Kick.
cover today, but first,
Thank you
another
so much.
announcement.
Appreciate you, man.
When the Third Edict launches on the 29th, we'll be having a free weekend for Path of Exile 2. That's right, Path of Exile 2 will be free for the first time without requiring an early access key. The free weekend
That's
will end on
cool.
September the 1st, so you'll have plenty of time to give the game
Brand
a try.
new players can check it
All
out.
right,
And they're
let's get
confident
started with
it's
Act
gonna be a
4.
good one.
The story continues from the end of Act 3. Doryani has agreed to help you find an ancient weapon that can be
Doryani,
used against
huh?
corruption, the instrument of the Third Edict. The weapon was broken in ages past, but he believes that the pieces may be found in the Karui archipelago, the home of the Karui tribes. You will need to journey to Kingsmarch,
So
hire a ship, and set sail.
there's no new class. I
When
just
you open
realized
the
there's
map, you
no
can
new
choose to sail
class.
anywhere you like. Act 4 is completely non-linear, and you can visit the islands in any order you choose. Will you visit the pristine beaches of Whakapanu Island? The Karui whisper of a curse that afflicts all who travel there. Perhaps it's related to the weapon you seek.
Wow. The beginning reminds me of Ghost of Tsushima.
Or
I
maybe
never
you'll
actually
visit the
played
volcanic
Ghost of
shores of the Isle
Tsushima.
of Kin. The Kin have been
I heard
more
it was really
restless
good.
recently, mining for sulfite and driven by some dark force. Perhaps you will choose to consult with one of the local Karui tribes. Their ancient wisdom could hold clues to finding the Third Edict. No matter where you choose to go, you will fight dangerous beasts, find fabulous treasures, and battle incredible bosses.
A challenger! Come, Yama sees your soul!
Oh wow.
There are 8 islands to discover, each teeming with its own flora and fauna. Act 4 contains over 100 new monster types, 16 new areas, 12 new
100?
bosses, and plenty of other interesting encounters.
Whoa.
There's a huge amount to show, but
Yo,
we're
you
not gonna
guys-
spoil too much here. We want to give you a chance to
My
discover it
fault.
all for yourself.
My fault.
What happens after Act 4? Well, until now you had to repeat the entire campaign
Gonna
again.
have to
before you
rewatch
could
that
face
on
endgame.
the bot.
But after adding Act 4, the game is far too long to make you do that. We needed something else to do in between the end of Act 4 and the endgame.
Yes.
So what else could we do? Add 3 new mini-acts, of course, and we're calling them the Interludes. The Interludes are a set of 3 temporary side stories that will be included in the game until Act 5 is released, that will take you to level 65 where the endgame can begin. The first interlude sends you on a journey back to Ogham. Renly has been leading the efforts to rebuild
Nice game,
Ogham
only I'm not a
Village after
fan of the
defeat
camera.
Count
Oh
Jen.
yeah.
But
This
there's a
is
new
this is
danger
called
afoot.
an ARPG genre
The nearby
game.
town
That's
of
how they
Holton is
usually are.
surrounded by
They're like top
impenetrable
down.
darkness, and each night their corrupted townfolk emerge to raid the local
This game is similar
farmlands.
to the game
You'll
called
discover new areas,
Diablo as well.
and new bosses.
That's a small arena.
You'll need to find your way through the darkness, uncover the source of corruption,
Soon you will serve our master.
and defeat it.
Yes, I shall dance with their corpse.
And that's just the first interlude. The second interlude will have you return to the Vasteri Desert, where Asala has been given a sacred duty. When the skies align, the gifting of water requires a chosen Sekima to meet with the Selkari, guardians of the sacred
Sekima.
water, but they're nowhere to be found. You will need to track down the Selkari.
Every clip is showing
Find those
the
responsible for
warrior.
disrupting the gifting. Fight even more new bosses. Discover the secrets of the ancient ritual. Discover new locations. And ultimately help Asala carry out her sacred duty. Now for Interlude 3. As Royal Thaumaturge of the Vaal, Doryani had plans within plans to save his people from the cataclysm perpetuated by Atzeri's lust for power. One such plan involved sealing a group of willing Vaal deep in a great mountain vault near the home of the Asmeri, deep enough to survive the cataclysm. Even though thousands of years have passed, he believes that their descendants may still live and may be key to defeating the beast. The journey up the mountain will be dangerous. New foes stand in your way. And the further up the mountain you venture, the colder it will become. Explore caves of ice and enter the vault itself. Who can say what you will find within? The interludes are 6 to 7 areas each and generally include 4 boss fights as well. When you put that together with Act 4, that adds up to 35 new areas in the campaign and 24 new bosses.
Sheesh.
It's worth making clear that the interludes are temporary. When Act 5 and 6 are added, the interludes will be going away.
Okay. Makes
These are side
sense, I
stories
guess.
after all. But don't worry, the bosses and areas that make up the interlude are all part of the endgame. We're not just going to throw them away. And with that, we don't need cruel difficulty anymore. We do know that it was a pretty big chore to have to play through the campaign multiple times.
Hell
with
yeah,
each
bro.
character.
It was the
And this
biggest
was a
chore
huge
of the
reason that The
game.
campaign could feel like a bit of a slog when playing through again. But we do also have another new feature to address that particular concern as well. So let's talk about sprinting. In 030, when you hold down the dodge roll
Sprinting.
button, your character will go into a sprint after they finish the roll. This is available on all character classes, and there's no limitation on how long you can sprint for. The primary
Bro, I'm
purpose
about to
of
make a
this feature is to
sprinting build
navigating
where you
areas
run
faster
around
when
and
out of
like
combat.
lightning goes
Because of that, if you do take
everywhere and
sprinting,
kills
you'll
everything
fall
while
to
you
the ground.
sprint.
The best idea is to use a skill when you see monsters. That'll break you out of the sprint so you can engage with no danger.
They should
If you
come
do
out
need
with like
to run away from
uniques that
monsters,
like
just hold spacebar.
does something while
You
you
won't be
sprint.
vulnerable during the roll, and you're faster while sprinting than basically any monster in the game, allowing you to retreat from combat.
Oh, that's
Sprint is
handy.
a pretty significant change to PoE 2's gameplay.
That is
What I
a
like most
huge
about it is that we
change.
can accelerate the pace of the game for those who want that, without having to compromise on PoE 2's more visceral combat systems. Okay, so that's the new extensions to the campaign, but
Wow.
there's a whole giant league to play through as well. I'll leave that to Mark to talk about later. And that's because what I want to talk about now is the new stuff for your characters. And probably one of the biggest new systems here is with the support gems. Now,
Okay, here we
support gems
go.
are one of the most interesting elements to creating a build.
Support
They're
gems.
what enables so many interesting mechanics and different ways to play. But PoE 2's support gem system has just never been quite right. One of the major issues is the limitation of only having one support gem of each type on your character. We
Okay.
didn't want builds to just become using the same 5 most powerful supports in every skill.
All
The
right.
problem with this design, though, is that it's actually working against using multiple skills in your build. If you can only use each support gem on one skill, it means that you're encouraged to go all in on that one ability.
Go
We want to
on.
encourage you to combo your abilities, something needed to change. So with that in mind, we've removed the restriction of having one of each support gem per character. You can now use as many copies as you like. This
What,
should
dude?
drastically increase the amount of possible builds and increase the amount of
That
skill
is
diversity.
mind blowing. Bro, the build
There are a lot of
potential now
builds that
is
suffered from the previous restriction.
is
For example,
actually
A poison
insane.
build previously couldn't add poison to more than one skill. They couldn't use stacking poison on more than one skill either. This severely limited your ability to
Nexus,
combo with
clip
anything
that.
outside of the specifically designed poison archetype. But now you can. Many utility skills previously couldn't scale to endgame because the supports that would make them scale were more useful to use in other skills. You would never speed up killing Palm with martial tempo when you would much rather use it on your primary skill instead. There are more examples like this all over the place.
Yo, bro, you can use multiple support gems, baby.
In addition to that, though, we thought there wasn't enough feeling of progression in the supports as you went through the game. There were only 3 tiers of supports, and many of the most important ones were given out at Tier 1. Also, there were no strict upgrades, meaning that upgrading supports when you ran out of sockets required quite a lot of thinking. In order to solve these issues, we now also have multiple levels of many supports as you go through the game. For example, double barrel support gives you an extra bolt, but at the cost of 30% less reload speed. At Tier 2,
What?
the penalty gets lowered to 20%.
So there's new tiers.
But then at Tier
I don't
3,
know
the
how I
support
feel
gem gets
about that.
something new. It now reloads automatically when you heavy stun an enemy. In some cases, the highest tiers might work a little differently, and you'll have to decide if you like the upgrade or not, depending on your build. For example, rapid casting. The first couple of levels gives 15, then 20% increased cast speed. But then at Tier 3, it changes to a new approach. For each different spell you cast in the last 8 seconds, you get 10% increased cast speed, which could be a pretty big bonus if you use a lot of different spells. So that's pretty good for upgrades through the campaign, but we wanted to add a little more spice to the endgame for supports too. And that's
I don't
where our
know.
new system, Lineage
I'm
supports,
kind of
comes in.
mixed about that, to be
You can
honest.
think of these like unique items, but for supports. There are supports that are only available at endgame, but they're much more powerful. Like Ratha's
Okay.
Assault. It's an upgraded version of double barrel that reloads your skill as you dodge roll, as well
Will
as
you play it right after the trailer? So today it's like the reveal trailer, but the actual patch, like the game 0.3 update comes out August 29th. So it comes out next week. That's when I'm gonna play it.
And there's a ton in the regular drop pool too.
So I have time to finish Hogwarts Legacy before then.
Others fairly common. Some of them are build defining. Others are just straight up power upgrades.
Wow, dude.
All in all, there's around 40
Oh my
lineage
God.
supports being added throughout the endgame. So there's a lot of power to find out there. Now, the new support gems are certainly going to open up a lot of builds, but of course we have
Hell
a
yeah,
huge
they
range
are.
of improvements to individual character classes as well. As well as adding new skills, we had a big focus on buffing existing skills so that they can scale well into the endgame.
Did they buff
There's a huge
Flicker?
amount to cover here, so we're not going to discuss everything. We're just
Okay.
going to quick fire through some of the coolest changes.
All right.
We wanted to make cold a more useful element on the Ranger, so we've expanded
Cold is
the
getting
cold tools
some
available.
love.
As well as increasing its range, Escape Shot now creates fragments of ice whenever it hits the ground.
They're giving some
These
cold love,
fragments
huh?
explode after a short time, making the skill better for killing groups of enemies. But not only that, we added an ice fragment support that creates more of them when killing frozen enemies. And a new buff skill called Ice Tipped Arrows that allows all your arrows to create ice fragments. This already gives clear to rangers wanting to use ice, but to take further advantage of the ice fragments, Freezing Salvo has been upgraded to shoot additional cold arrows towards every fragment, giving you a nuke-like ability. We've also modified Snipe to consume frozen from enemies, dealing a huge amount more damage, giving you a nice ice single target option.
Nice.
And something you might notice about this is that the bonus is a lot higher against bosses. This is actually a change you'll see throughout the entire game. Since it's a lot harder to freeze a
Huge,
boss,
man.
you should get a bigger
Already
reward for
huge
it.
stuff coming in, bro.
Another theme you'll see throughout the game is making movement feel better. Toxic Growth is a skill that was pretty cool, but a bit annoying to use with the jump that it had. Now Toxic Growth is a range skill, so you can spam it more easily. And we've also added a new poison skill while we were at it, called Toxic Domain. It creates a small area around you that makes all your attacks create toxic growth pustules, but attached to monsters. Another skill that was annoying to use was Electrocuting Arrow. It's now just a regular arrow, making it easier to use.
Yo,
But it also means you
bow
can support
builds
it
are
with
about to be
projectile support.
crazy.
And it now also has Area of Effect, making it a tool for
Yeah, I
more
might.
than just single
Ooh,
target,
bow builds
and
might
allowing
be
it to scale into the endgame.
meta for at least like the first
Also
day.
added a new spirit reservation called Mirage Archer. This is a meta skill that allows you to create shadowy clones of yourself to use a skill of your choice.
Okay.
Of course, one of
That was
the
in
other
Path
big
of Exile
problems
1.
the Ranger had was survivability. Evasion was the weakest of the three defenses, and we wanted to change that.
Here we go.
Currently, evasion doesn't evade all types of hits in the game, so you're still vulnerable to things like slams or unblockable attacks. To make evasion characters more tanky, we're adding a new mechanic called Deflect.
Deflect.
Unlike evasion, Deflect works on everything, and if you successfully deflect a hit, you take 40% less damage. Items can now give you a mod that gives you some amount of deflection based on your evasion.
Yo, imagine stacking
And there's a bunch of it
thorns
available on the
and
passive tree
deflect
too.
and everything
Deflection is rolled
else.
in addition to evasion, so this is an upgrade for
So you can
regular
make
hits
your
too.
guy super tanky now.
Unlike evasion, there's no maximum chance.
I
You can
wonder
reach
how well
100%
that's gonna
deflect
work
against
though.
all hits if you
But it's
spec
only
into it enough.
40%.
Of course, this is a buff that helps all Dex characters, so the Mercenary and the Monk, but especially the Huntress, are seeing big defense boosts from this as well. Speaking of defensive
Oh,
mechanics, let's talk about block and parry. Now, one of the big
Block and
concerns on the
parry.
release of the Huntress was parry feeling unreliable. One
Yeah.
of the big reasons for this is there's a lot of hits that are not blockable, and thus not parryable either. So a huge balance change we're making is that now everything is blockable, except for specifically unblockable red flash skills that bosses use.
Good change. Cause yeah, I've never
This
freaking
makes
blocked
parrying much
ever
more
in my
reliable.
life.
And not only that, but to make block and parry nicer to use, you now also move faster than before while using these abilities.
Good.
This is a massive buff to passive block as well. So to counter that, we did have to lower the max passive block a bit, but overall you should feel much safer.
That's a slight nerf to my Warbringer
Fire
class
skills on the
then.
warrior were not really cutting the mustard, so we decided we needed to upgrade a bunch of them, but also add some more as well. Let's start with a buff. Volcanic fissure now branches into multiple fissures, giving it much more clearing potential.
Nice.
We've also added a new skill called Forge Hammer. This skill throws a molten hammer that does a slam at a distance. You can recall the hammer back by using the skill again if you like.
That's
but
funny.
The cooler thing to do is to use a war cry near it.
Imagine
Using
put
a
like
war cry makes the
multi-strike
hammer
on there,
explode,
like
making a bunch of volcanic fissures
return
around.
projectiles. You just keep throwing
Volcanic
hammers.
fissures re-trigger when you slam them.
It's like
So
Thor.
it's a great skill to make a flaming arena
That's
to
what's
fight a
up.
boss. We also buffed
It makes that
Perfect Strike to a
sound
much
too.
larger area
The
of
one I
effect,
just made.
and changed Molten Blast to not always force you to move forward. Trust me, it feels a lot better to use now. The skill now has massively boosted chance to ignite monsters as well. And you're going to want to ignite monsters due to a new glory skill called Ancestral Cry. Ancestral Cry charges up with glory by igniting monsters, invoking King Kaum's favor. After you do, use it to channel Kaum's ancestral power.
Wow.
Every attack will be ancestrally boosted with fire. Your very steps will explode, triggering volcanic fissures. And
Wow.
molten balls will erupt from your attacks.
That looks really
Warrior
good.
shield skills were another area we wanted to improve. Now that we've got sprint, we actually don't need to have a cooldown on shield charge anymore. And now also
Finally.
does more damage the further away you are when you use it. Shield wall got significantly upgraded AoE. Also, you can shield charge right through it to trigger all the walls.
Cool.
We also added a new shield war cry.
So you could put like 5
Fortifying
walls or
Cry
like
gives you a defensive buff,
three to
but it
5
also builds
walls,
up charge on
charge
a
through
shield
all
that
of them and
empowers your
explode
other
the whole
shield skills.
screen.
And Magma Barrier now doesn't require timing in order to use. Just wait for your shield to charge up and block.
Next is clip that.
Seismic Cry now stuns enemies that are primed for stun. And we changed the Sunder interaction with Armor Break. It now also gives a Sundered Armor debuff that makes enemies take 40% extra physical damage. Great for bosses.
Good old Sunder.
Ancestral Warrior Totem has undergone some pretty significant changes too. We wanted the
yeah?
skill to feel more like using an ultimate. That summoning an ancestor to fight for you was a big deal. So we've changed this totem to require 3 endurance charges to summon, and massively buffed its damage. It also now scales your weapon damage too.
Wait, what?
Since there's no
It
limit
scales
anymore,
with your
if you build
weapon
around generating
damage?
endurance charges, you can summon an entire forest of totems. In order to make that easier, we added some new sources of
What?
endurance charges. There's now
Bro,
support to make perfect strike
scaling
melee
with your
charges,
weapon
and a
damage
support for
is
generating endurance
really,
charges from
really
heavy stuns
good.
as well. Speaking of totems, we wanted to upgrade the Warbringer. Among the other changes we've made to this class, Answered
That's what I
Call gives
used.
an extra totem, and the spirits have just been generally buffed.
This is
in many
literally
ways.
one of my builds.
Use it with your limitless
You can catch it on my
ancestral
channel,
warrior
Lugo
forest, to make
HQ.
an army of Karui that would make Tukahama proud. We've also merged the Great Wolf Howl and Warcaller's Bellow support, so that you can get all the benefits with 1 point. And Encased in Jade no longer removes the Jade when getting hit, making it a much better defense.
Nice. That was so stupid
up, let's talk
how that
about
was
accuracy.
before.
Accuracy was always intended to be something that warriors didn't need to care about very much so long as they're in close combat. But unfortunately, that's not currently the case. This was particularly annoying with skills like Bone Shatter, which you certainly don't want to mess with. So we significantly buffed your chance to hit at close ranges when you don't have much accuracy. Warriors shouldn't require any accuracy investment in order to hit with close range attacks now.
Yeah, I mean, this makes sense.
We also wanted to improve armor. Now, one of the major weaknesses of
Oh,
armor is the inability
JK.
to defend against elemental
Thanks for the
damage.
follow on Kick.
In order to mitigate this, we're adding a lot
Hopefully
more of
you're
the
not
stat
gonna
that
ask
allows your
about
armor
me
to
joining
defend
your
against
Discord.
elemental damage. It's now available on items and in a lot more places on the passive tree. One of the most important improvements we've made in 030 is to declunk the action and flow of shooting crossbows. You can now reload crossbows without any movement penalty. But not only that, all skills that can be used while moving now slow you for a shorter amount of time. This change benefits everyone, not just crossbow skills. With both of these changes put together, the run and gun playstyle feels much better.
Nice.
It's hard to explain how important this change is for the feel of the class. The Mercenary is also a good chance to talk about how we're rebalancing to make comboing skills much better.
All right, here we go.
Take Shock, for example. It buffs damage and lasts 4 seconds right now, but that isn't really giving you enough time to take advantage of it. If you're going to add a lightning skill into a build that otherwise wouldn't use one, we need to make mechanics like this much better. So we've increased shock duration on monsters to last 8 seconds. And skills like Plasma Blast, which are intended to be good at shocking enemies, now increase the damage bonus by a lot more.
Major
You'll
buff
find changes like this all
crossbow.
around the game. Chill
is
now
a
lasts 8
major
seconds,
buff to
giving you more of a
crossbows.
reason to weave in cold damage. Freezing skills are better at freezing. Burning skills need to cause burns that last longer. But making skills like permafrost bolts and incendiary shot double down on how they're supposed to be used, it makes using them in your build alongside other skills much more likely. We're also making sure to buff specific combos too. The freeze explosions from frag rounds now chain to nearby enemies. And using high velocity rounds with armor break will now fragment the opponent's armor. This causes monsters to take a portion of high velocity rounds damage with every subsequent hit, even tiny pellets. So that means following it with a shotgun blast is way more effective. Now there's a lot more buffs to crossbow skills, but for now I'm just going to talk about the new one we added, the mortar cannon. This one lets you socket any grenade skill, and using it will summon a cannon which loads and then fires the grenade you choose.
Wow. I wonder what that scales off of.
Another issue on the mercenary were banners. They were just not very good, so we're doing a big upgrade to them. They now last longer, don't disappear when moving out of them, and we removed the Valor mechanic. They now just give a much more consistent and stronger buff, and you can use them when you get enough glory. On which, one of the main focuses was making various minion types more useful to use together.
Here we go.
Melee minions in particular were just not that great compared to ranged ones. As a starting point, we just straight up removed the requirement for minions to have accuracy.
Wow.
Attack minions now always hit, which makes them way better.
Absolutely W buff.
Brutes got some good numeric buffs, but we also added a new command skill where they do a war cry that intimidates enemies.
I was
and
actually thinking
detonates any
about playing the
frozen monsters
witch
and
for my
allies around
first
in a big
class.
cold explosion.
The next update.
We've also changed the Frost Mage's command skill to an ability that adds ice armor to your other minions, adding a layer of defense. And it makes them deal cold damage back to the attacker as well. The ice armor also makes the minion count as frozen, so the Brute's Warcry can detonate them too. Unearth was changed to work on corpses of your dead skeletons, allowing you to summon the minions more easily in boss fights. And they also got a new jump ability, allowing them to get into combat faster. Ray's Spectre was also feeling pretty weak for the spirit cost they have. To be honest, we were a little afraid of these when we first balanced them. We've both decreased the spirit cost for a large range of monsters, and we've significantly increased Spectre damage too. They should feel a lot more impactful.
Wow. Huge upgrade. So minions got a
Also
huge
lot of new
upgrade.
spellcaster weapons with new occult skills. But I'll just talk about one of them that I thought was particularly
New
cool.
occult skills. Here we go.
The Reaping Staff is actually a wicked scythe that gives you a new ability called Reap. When an enemy is low in life, you can dash forward and rake enemies with the scythe to cull them instantly, healing you. It can also inflict critical weakness on enemies too.
Interesting.
Now, there's a lot of balance changes in the Witch's Ascendancy classes, but I'll just talk about 2 of them for now. On the Blood Mage, you were previously required to spend your first points on Sangomancy, which really was supposed to be the downside for being able to access the powerful abilities on the rest of the class. In order to make picking the Blood Mage a better early option, we've made Sangomancy free, unlocking the power of the rest of the class immediately.
Wow.
On the Infernalist, the Demon form wasn't something people were really using because you lost your weapon
Here
stats
we
when
go.
transformed. Well, you no longer do, so it's a much better option now. On the Monk, the wind skills needed a big upgrade for sure. Staggering Palm can now stack up its duration if you use the skill multiple times in a row. So you can keep the
Dude, the
effect
demon
of all your
form
skills
was
throwing up
such
wind
a,
much
like,
more easily.
Disappointment when I first played it. I remember that.
Wind Blast had the purpose of building up to dazing an enemy, but dazing just wasn't worth all that effort. Now it just dazes on hit, meaning a single Wind Blast will make all your skills stun enemies more easily. Following up with Vaulting Impact on a dazed enemy previously did a bunch of stun. Now it allows you to break your enemy's stance. When their stance is broken, following up with a fast attack will do way more damage. A cool build that certain people always enjoyed in PoE 1 was hand-to-hand combat, but until now we just didn't have a real way to make it viable.
You have died.
Well, that changes now. The Monk, as a true martial artist, now has the ability to learn the Hollow Palm technique, a keystone that lets you use all quarterstaff skills while unarmed. All quarterstaff
Wow.
attacks now have a special unarmed version, and you get further bonuses to all your attacks from stacking Energy Shield and Evasion on your
That's
character.
really cool, man. An unarmed monk build. That sounds really, really fun.
A new keystone we also added to the Monk section of the tree is Walker of the Wilds. This changes Mana Leech to work with elemental damage instead of physical,
That's
which
really
is pretty
good
useful for all
too.
those elemental attacks the Monk has, but it works well for the Ranger too. Now, one of the least used Ascendancy classes in the game is the
Here we
Acolyte of
go.
Chayula, so
Yep.
we knew we needed to make some changes here.
Yeah, dude,
One
no
of the
one
key
used
things we
that
had to do
thing.
was make the chaos damage that the Acolyte can do much more useful. So we've added a new skill allowing chaos damage to ignite, shock, chill, and freeze, embracing the elemental prowess of the monk in a truly chaotic fashion. In addition, he can make all of his chaos damage leech. And we've buffed Into the Breach and Embrace the Darkness by moving the effects of the 4-point nodes into the base skills.
Wow.
He also gains a new notable,
Wow.
Grasp of the Void, which leaves void illusions behind you as you dodge roll. If they're killed, they do massive explosions of darkness, dealing damage to everything in sight.
That's alright, I
Now let's
guess.
talk about sorceress skills. One of the things we wanted to improve on the Sorc is the ability to use multiple elements together more effectively.
Yeah.
Now, this might seem small, but one of the things pushing you towards using a single element is debuffs like elemental curses, which lower resistances of a single element. In order to fix that, we're making quite a lot of game-wide changes to these kinds of mechanics to broaden what they apply to. So for example, there's no longer 3 curses for fire, ice, and lightning. Instead, there's just a single curse that buffs all 3 at the same time. And things like Frostbomb, which gave you cold exposure, now give elemental exposure. You can use it to buff any of your other skills. We also wanted to make switching between different weapon sets smoother, so you can use
Yo,
different
where's the
elemental staves more
Chronomancer?
effectively. To do that, we've removed
Need the
weapon switch
Chronomancer
time,
buffs.
and now happens instantly.
I need where
This
you can
applies game-wide
freeze
too.
time for like 50 seconds.
Now, we didn't just want to stop there. We wanted to add some specific mechanics that work between different elements, and that's where elemental infusions come in. Certain skills can now drop elemental infusions. For example, when a frostbomb explodes, it leaves behind a cold infusion on the ground. After picking it up, you can spend it on one of any number of different skills to transform how they work.
Interesting.
Spark will create
It's gonna
a
be
nova
hard to
with cold
see when
infused
there's so
projectile.
much shit going on the screen. And how does that work against bosses
Ice
without
will leave a
ads?
chilled area on the ground. And we also added a new low-level skill that fires ice shards. Use it with cold infusion though, and the ice shards will explode. Orb of Storms now generates lightning infusions when you cast enough spells near it. And that's all spells, by the way, not just lightning. Once you have one, you could cast a lightning flame wall, which adds both fire and lightning damage to all the projectiles that pass through it. Or power up Ember Fusillade with lightning, which will generate arcs to nearby enemies as each fireball hits.
I never liked that spell. That spell
Way
was
to go,
so
lightning on
like
lightning with arc.
janky,
This
dude.
skill is now a projectile, and by infusing it, you can go full Palpatine.
Full Palpatine.
Get fire infusions by blowing up monsters with Living Bomb. Then use them with Comet to summon a giant fire meteor from the sky. Or use it with Firestorm, which transforms it from a small area into a much bigger one. Firestorm is unique in that it can be infused by multiple different elements at the same time. Add an ice infusion to rain down ice at the same time as the fire. And add lightning to add deadly strikes from the heavens into the mix. Or use it with all 3 to generate a storm that is truly apocalyptic. Cold Snap has been simply turned into Snap. Previously, you could use it to shatter ice, but now it works to detonate all of the different elemental ailments, and makes them leave behind infusions. And just like how you could previously use it on Frostbolt, you can now also use it on Orb of Storms and Solar Orb to detonate those as well, which means you can create many infusions at once.
Wow. That looks pretty cool.
We also have a Spirit Reservation skill, and a support gem to help generate them too.
I just think it's too much gameplay for
On
not
the passive
much
tree, we added
reward.
quite a few new keystones to the Sorceress section. Here are a couple of examples. The Black Flame Covenant keystone converts your fire spells to chaos and causes your ignites to deal chaos damage. Your fire
What?
spells and ignites will also turn purple. The Ritual Cadence keystone causes your invocation skills to trigger more times, but makes them trigger periodically over a longer duration instead of one. Great for those auto-bomber builds. Now, in addition to skill changes, we've added a lot more options for the passive tree. for
Demon
each class.
form changes
Overall, there are
skills
more than
from
100
fire
new notables on the
to
tree, usually around
chaos.
20 per class,
I'm thinking
along
about
with
that.
smaller clusters as well. Check out the old version, and here's the new version. It's a lot
Wow,
more
dude.
dense, and there's
Even
more interesting
more
nodes than
freaking
before.
skill points or
Now, we
skills on the
probably
tree.
can't go through too many of these in the live stream, so I'll just show you one from each class's area of the tree. We tried to be a lot more thematic with the new nodes. So for example, the Molten One's Gift. It lets the benefit of Armor Break apply to your fire damage. Or how about Last Stand, which gives you lots of stats as your situation becomes more and more desperate. A lot of these have themes aligning with ascendancy classes. Like for the Gemling Legionnaire, for example. You have crystallized immunities, which makes you immune to different status ailments depending on which support gem color you have socketed the most. Another ascendancy class aligned notable is Sanguimatic Rituals. It allows arcane surges to generate life instead of mana, unlocking that support gem to be used with the Blood Mage Ascendancy.
Wow.
In the Sork area, you'll find these Archon nodes that allow you to convert all of your elemental damage to a specific element. You become a Lightning Archon when you spend enough mana, after which all your skills will be converted to lightning, and you will do extra lightning damage as well. We have ones for cold and fire too, with different triggers. Here's another cool one. Elemental Practitioner gives crit bonuses if you've triggered a skill recently, while also making crits generate more energy for triggers. Or maybe you'd like the Great Boar. It gives you a reason to stack dexterity to make you tougher, giving a bonus to life and stun threshold. Or the Cunning Fox. It straight up gives you 5% quality to all your gems.
That's good for
Now,
the
another major change is attribute requirements. We felt like players
Gemling.
probably had a few too many nodes and attributes and not enough in interesting passives, so we lowered attribute requirements by 25% across the board. That means you'll have more points to spend on interesting notables rather than just needing to allocate more strength, dex, and int. Now, there are way more changes than just these. These are just some of the cooler ones we wanted to show off, but I'd say that's just about enough for now. We're not even half done yet. So I think it's time that we talk about the League, the rise of the Abyssal. And to do that, I'd like to hand things over to Mark.
Let's do it.
As you just saw, even though there are
What's up,
major
Mark?
changes to the campaign for this update, we want to make sure that every time you come back for an expansion, each area feels different with something extra going on. It is really important to make sure your experience when returning between expansions is fresh and filled with new content. And the way we did this was through leagues. Every expansion we make has a league, which not only has a fresh economy, but also has new content
Rise
exclusively
of
available in
the
that league.
Abyssal.
So, let's
This is
delve
gonna be a
into the
good league.
details
I
of
could
what
just-
Path
I
of
can already
Exile
tell. I
2's
love
first
Abyss.
official league is bringing to the table.
The Abyss League or
The
mechanics
Abyssal are a race that have mastery
Path
of
of Exile
forbidden
1 are
magics
really
and
fun.
necromancy. They were thought to be extinct, but have merely been biding their time underground. You first encounter signs of the Abyssal in Clairfell, where you discover that during the night, weaker members of the Undead Legion have been attacking the encampment.
Oh wow.
The townsfolk require your help to investigate where the monsters are coming from and put a stop to their attacks.
This is gonna be a good league mechanic. I can already tell. I'm like very confident it's gonna be a good one.
As you proceed through Rayclast, you'll find
Yeah, look at
fissures
that,
in
dude.
the earth connected to larger
It's gonna be
pits.
really good.
The monsters normally inhabiting the area are being affected by it, harmed by it.
I really didn't like
having
the
their
wisps
souls eaten to strengthen
for
the
Dawn
Abyssal
of the Hunt.
underground. As you defeat
I really
the
thought that
monsters,
was, like,
the fissure
kinda
closes
stupid.
and Abyssal emerge, angered by you killing their food. Once all those fissures have been sealed, the pit activates, and more Abyssal pour out. This
Yeah,
is where
dude.
the larger and more dangerous monsters
Here we
reveal
go.
themselves,
Here we go.
as hordes of Abyssal spew out
That's
from
what
the
I'm
pit
talking
to take your
about.
soul. If you kill a magic pack, then magic Abyssal arise. If you kill a rare, then a rare monster will emerge from the pit, having absorbed some or all of its modifiers for itself. This means the monsters emerging will generally be more difficult
Yeah.
and more rewarding, as each modifier gives better rewards. If you are able to kill them all, the pit will seal shut. As each pit is closed, it reveals a potential reward. Abyssal troves will rise up out of the pits, allowing you to get some epic loot. Areas often contain many pits, with many fissures, and the amount goes up as you progress through the game, getting more intense. It doesn't stop there. When monster mods are absorbed, they have a chance to become infused with the dark necromancy, transforming them into abyssal modifiers.
Uh-oh.
For example, you defeat this monster with the Mana Siphoner modifier. Their soul is eaten by the pit, and a rare monster emerges. The Mana Siphoner modifier has transformed into Soul Siphoner, and is now amplified in danger and reward.
Wow. Soul Siphoner.
Abyssal
That doesn't
pits
sound
also
very
interact
fun.
with other monsters and mechanics. If you defeat a rogue exile that's near one, it'll be revived as a Lichborn that has multiple abyssal modifiers.
What?
Lichborn exiles even have their own unique jewel they can drop, if you are lucky enough to encounter and kill them.
Their own unique jewel.
If an abyss spawns near a boss, killing it will summon a gigantic Giga Larvae creature.
Whoa.
Monsters
mad.
imprisoned
Oh, he
in
didn't show
essences
the
near
fight.
abyssal
Ah,
pits
that's-
are affected by
They
the abyss
teased
too.
us.
They will come with an additional new essence item that can be used to craft your items. So, that's your bread and butter of the Abyssal League.
Cool.
Kill surface-dwelling monsters, kill the emerging
Just kill
abyssal,
monsters.
close the fissures,
Simple,
overcome pit encounters,
but yet
and
effective.
reap the rewards. There's a lot more to this league, however. As you complete abysses, you can find ancient pieces of bone, preserved from the remains of fallen Lichborn. These are one of the many rewards for your mission to seal the pits. You can use this on a rare item to imbue it with abyssal magic, adding a special hidden modifier to your item. But how do you reveal it? In Act 2 of the campaign, you'll encounter a new area. This area is overrun by the Abyssal and the Lost Men.
So we got
After
new
clearing
mods.
through this area, you'll find the Well of Souls, a giant cavity with a massive vortex of souls swirling beneath you. So how do you reveal the mods on your abyssal-infused items? Obviously, just throw them in, right? Yes, that's exactly what you do. Before
Okay.
throwing it in, you are given the option of how you want to transform it, in the form of a choice of 3 different modifiers. Once you've chosen your desired mod, throw it in, where it will absorb the power of the souls, and the ominous creature will then retrieve it for you. These modifiers can be ones from the core mod pool, all the way through to specialized modifiers that cannot normally appear on items. During the campaign, you can use it as a way to more easily add useful existing mods, but during the endgame, there is a whole set of new and powerful mods you can add to your items.
Wow.
Like this mod for crossbows that allows you to place an additional ballista totem,
That's insane.
or this one that adds spirit to your staff,
That's really good too.
or this one that allows you to generate more combo with your quarterstaff skills. And speaking of endgame, you can also use the system to craft waystones.
Really?
With a preserved vertebrae fused into your waystones, you can get some new modifiers that push difficulty and rewards to new heights. Here are some
Whoa.
examples of those mods. You always get a choice of 3, so you can avoid anything you don't think your character is capable of. With this modifier, the natural inhabitants of the area are all spawned near abysses, and there are up to 9 additional abyssal pits in the area, making it just a full-on abyss ruckus. Or this one, which causes the final abyssal pit in the area to always result in a boss encounter,
Nice.
be it
I like
either
that
one
one.
underground or one that emerges out.
I like that one.
There are dozens of these waystone modifiers in total you can get from this crafting. That covers the new crafting mechanic. So what's left? Well, we talked about how when closing pits you can get abyssal troves, but sometimes when closing an abyss, you'll reveal an underground cavern that leads to the
Ooh,
abyssal
yeah.
depths.
You go down there and there's a big boss.
After jumping into the depths, you'll find an abyssal city.
Yo, I
swarming
can't believe
with
he's using
legions of the
Spark.
undead.
I wonder if they
When
upgraded
underground,
Spark.
every single rare abyssal enemy will
That
have
used to
an
be the
abyssal
best
modifier.
spell in the game.
And at the end of the dungeon, you'll even find a rare with a more powerful Lichborn modifier. Once you're able to defeat this powerful rare, you can also find some nice rewards. Aside from the entire area being valuable due to the abyssal modifiers on the monsters, it has its own specific drops too. One example is a set of lineage supports that can rarely be found in these depths, like Kurgel's Leash. This support empowers both you and your minions when you command them, granting unholy might to you both.
Wow.
Another depth-specific outcome is a set of omen-like items that amplify your abyssal crafting. Additionally, we're adding some new socketables that can drop from the abyssal depths. Take Ulaman's Gaze, which can be socketed into your armor. These are a bit special in that you can only have one equipped at a time, but give some pretty powerful effects. Think of them as almost a unique socketable for your equipment. In the endgame, where you can still find depths, you also start to find a different type of underground chamber. In these areas, you'll find an ancient spire, a device being used by commanders of the abyssal factions to plunge Rayclast into a lightless void. Your goal is simple: kill this commander and destroy the spire. There are 4 bosses in the Abyss League, and there are some pretty cool uniques available from them. An example is this belt, Darkness Enthroned. It has 2 sockets, but hold on, socketables don't work on belts. Well, this belt has a special mod that allows it to count as a different slot for the purpose of socketables.
Here we go. I used to use this belt. PoE 1, a similar one.
I kind of want one that counts as a body armor. I wonder how rare that one is. You can also find this unique jewel, Undying Hate. This jewel transforms part of your passive skill tree into an abyssal version.
What the heck?
And has multiple depths. The deeper it goes, the more of your passive tree is affected, allowing you to fulfill your fantasy of becoming part Abyssal Lich. Now, the last thing that Abyssal commanders can drop is a Finger of the Lich. But what use do you have with a random undead finger? Well, the next time you return to the Well of Souls, with the finger in your inventory, your character will almost feel compelled. To do what, though, you might ask? To jump in. The items you threw in came back more powerful, right? So, what's the worst that could happen? Well, you will just have to find that one out for yourself. Along with the introduction of Act 4 and the interlude, we will be adding 25
What if you can transform
new
into
in-game maps.
an abyss?
These maps will contain all the new monsters and bosses we're adding, improving variety and giving you opportunities to experience the new boss fights many times. Let's take a look at some examples. Rock Pools is a map where you explore a shallow rocky coastline, surrounded by coral and filled with sirens. At the end is a giant Goblin King boss, ready to eat sulfite and squish you like a bug. Holton is an Ezomite township which has seen better days. Explore and clear the township to find a gothic, Reaper-like boss, with the ability to manipulate storms and fry you with both lightning and wither you with chaos. Given some of the new bosses added are a bit more epic, such as the Act boss and final bosses of each interlude part, it would be a bit of a waste to just use them as regular map bosses. Instead, we'll be adding some new mechanics to the Atlas that use them. These start appearing pretty fast into the endgame and will help bridge the gap until you do your pinnacle bosses. In the desert biome, you can encounter a wild sandstorm. 3 maps around the sandstorm contain a device you must activate. Upon doing this, the sandstorm's magic is disrupted, revealing the map inside and allowing you to access it and find the cause. This presents itself in the form of a boss, similar to the existing Citadel bosses. This boss is a Faradin Swordmaster, who has been blessed with the power of a Time Djinn, allowing him to take his swordsmanship to the next level by replicating himself, maneuvering rapidly, and severing the fabric of time itself with his powerful slashes. In the water
what a
biome,
mechanic.
you'll encounter a giant maelstrom, where one of the maps surrounding the water biome connects to it, but the connection is obscured. You must run the maps nearby, hoping to find a beacon, which will remove the maelstrom and reveal the connection to that map. Another example is this Vaal vault in the mountain biome. But how do we get inside? Running the adjacent maps to it will yield a key, which you can then use to gain access to this vault. Or, you could just trade for one, I guess. Use the key to dispel the powerful force field surrounding it, leading to the Vaal Elite and their rewards inside. These all contain Uber versions of the Act 4 boss, and the bosses at the end of each part of the interlude. And each have their own exclusive drop pool of new lineage supports, which, as Jonathan spoke about earlier, are powerful support gems that modify your skills in pretty crazy ways. As an example of a lineage support which can come from the Faradin Swordmaster mentioned earlier, we have Guru Khan's Resolve, which causes your critical strikes to fork. but requires some mobility on your part to properly enable. From the boss sealed in the Val Vault, we have Paquate's Pact, which supports your war cries, causing them to inflict massive amounts of corrupted blood at the cost of your own life. Additionally, some maps can now spawn summoning circles, a room resembling an Ezomite henge. Activating this henge will spawn bosses. It's as simple as that. We'll also be making changes to how affixes and waystones work, as the current prefixes equals good, suffixes equals bad iteration isn't quite hitting the mark. We tried something new here in Path of Exile 2, but after seeing the feedback we decided we actually liked what we had in Path of Exile 1 more. Like Path of Exile 1, each affix will now be both difficult and rewarding. Waystone mods now grant an increase to the number of waystones dropped, and an additional specific upside attached to it. This means as you roll your map, they will continue to get more difficult and more rewarding, and allow you to customize the difficulty and rewards of your maps better. For example, the Frostbitten mod, which causes enemies to deal cold damage, also increases the rarity of items dropped as its upside. Whereas the Of Venom suffix modifier, which causes enemies to poison on hit, has the upside of granting increased pack size. Some maps will end up having a lot of rarity, some a lot of pack size, and others will just have a mixture of everything. Due to now having more modifiers granting difficulty, we will of course be reducing the difficulty per modifier to account for this. So, that's your Atlas, maps, and waystones, but what about Breach, Ritual, Pinnacle content, and others of the sort? We're making some changes around this too. The first change is that you'll now be able to invest 2 points into your specific League Atlas trees before having to run the Pinnacle content. There will be a specific objective for each type of content which grants you those points. For example, in the case of Delirium,
There's so much fire on the
simple.
screen right now.
You just need to find and kill one
Dude,
of
the
the
warrior
bosses in a map.
is looking good.
Omniphobia or
Just from the
Ptosis.
clips, they keep using the warrior.
The rest of the points for each content come from the Pinnacle content, but we're making some changes to accessibility here too. Currently, access to most Pinnacle content requires the same key at the easiest and most difficult version of the content. This creates a negative feeling where at
Dude.
lower difficulties, instead of wanting to run the content,
Simulacrum.
you're often better off just selling it to someone who can run it at maximum difficulty.
I swear, Simulacrum is good until
address
the
this,
last fight,
Each
and
content
it's
will
like,
now
oh my
drop
god,
splinters,
I don't think
which
I'm ready
will
for
not
this.
form into singular items. Instead of using the singular
Well, I'm talking about, like,
combined
tier
item
4
in the
though.
realm gate, you can now just bring your splinters. Upon inserting the splinters into the realm gate, an interface will appear, allowing you to pick your difficulty, and you'll notice each difficulty has a different entry cost. This means if you want to run easier difficulties, it costs less, which also allows you to run this content much sooner into the endgame. Because these encounters now just require splinters, their corresponding Atlas tree no longer affects the difficulty of them, and has been changed to purely affect the content and maps on the Atlas. The Arbiter of Ash works a bit differently. Instead of requiring splinters, he still needs crisis fragments. We now have only 2 difficulties of the Arbiter. The first, requiring the existing fragments obtained from citadels. The second, Uber Arbiter, requires calamity fragments. These come from citadel bosses also, but only once you've allocated the maximum number of points in your boss Atlas tree, ensuring those citadels are at their highest difficulty level. Since we're talking about Pinnacle content, we also felt that the leveling curve in the late game was a bit too steep. We've smoothed this out a bit so that it's easier to get to the mid-90s. We've also added some new in-game unique items. Let's take a look at a couple.
All right, here we go. Some unique items.
Thunderfist is a pair of gloves that grant
Thunderfist.
Crackling Palm, a skill which empowers your unarmed attacks, granting the ability to call down the storms themselves on enemies.
This is gonna be so
Put
fun to
simply,
use for the
literally
monk.
every monster you hit with your unarmed skills will be
Oh
struck
my
by powerful
god,
lightning.
dude.
Pair this with the aforementioned Hollow Palm technique to embrace your true unarmed prowess in combat. Another unique we're adding is Henekura's Sight. Equip this amulet to be granted the power of the Mother of Death herself. This is reflected by granting you a skill called Foresight. While you have Foresight, your dodge roll no longer avoids hits, but instead Being hit while dodge rolling restores you to full life and makes you unable to die for a brief period of time. You'll
What?
notice when this does occur, a copy of your character appears and takes the full damage. This is you seeing that future, as if you hadn't been wearing the amulet. Ultimately, your in-game experience should be more streamlined.
Dude, that
with new content
unarmed
to find.
unique is about
You'll
to
be able
be.
to invest in your Atlas trees sooner,
gotta be good.
engage with pinnacle content faster, have less FOMO running said pinnacle content, reach higher levels easier, and do all of that while finding many new chase endgame items. Talking about finding items is one thing, but what about crafting them? We've taken a step back and looked at some of our crafting systems to make some notable
Bro always
improvements.
has Adidas shoes
Let's
on.
start with essences.
He always
which
has
suffered from
Adidas
an
shoes
issue
on.
where the regular essences were effectively useless and didn't give players the tools or excitement
Bro, I'm gonna
that
be
a crafting
honest.
system should provide.
I never
To
really
alleviate
used
these
Essence.
concerns,
in Path
essences
of
are being
Exile 2.
changed in a few ways.
It's really
Firstly,
bad.
they're being changed to function like regals and add specific modifiers with specific values.
Okay,
meaning
here we
you
go.
know exactly what you're going to get. We found that players were often bottlenecked by regal orbs when crafting in the campaign, so this helps to fill that gap, allowing
Sounds
you
good.
to better upgrade your items. For example, this Lesser Essence of Flames, which will be able to add a flat amount of fire damage to your magic martial weapons.
That's
Secondly,
good.
we're adding many more tiers. That Lesser Essence of Flames, for example, has a regular variant and a greater variant too, adding even more fire damage with each upgrade.
all right.
The intention of this is so that when you find one early on, you don't worry about holding onto it till later to use on a higher level item. You should feel free to use them as they come to get powerful upgrades during the campaign.
Bro was ready.
Lastly, our highest
there's
tier
a
of essences,
perfect.
now called Perfect Essences, will function like a Chaos Orb instead of a Regal.
Yikes.
So it will replace one of the modifiers on your rare items with the specified mod. Such as this Perfect Essence of Flames. You'll notice this one doesn't just add flat fire damage like the ones before it. The Perfect Essences often give something a bit different, with some opportunities to be pretty damn powerful. There are many different essences, each with many tiers, covering many of the more core modifiers you'd want on items early on, through to chase specialized ones for in-game. Speaking of in-game, we really wanted to expand our crafting options for late in-game crafting projects.
Was that a lightning
You
spear
might
I
have
saw?
noticed that at in-game, you get way too many transmutes. Wouldn't it be nice if some of those didn't drop, but instead you got something a little more powerful? At higher levels, you can now find Greater Orb of Transmutation and Perfect Orb of Transmutation. These can be used on normal items to upgrade them to magic, ensuring that the modifier generated is of a minimum level. This is similar to how you find higher tier items on the ground.
I don't know about the tier system of
These
things,
higher
man.
tiers will also exist for Orb of Augmentation,
I just think it's gonna be a like
Regal Orb,
clunky and too much
Exalted
stuff.
Orb, and Chaos Orb, meaning you can get all of the orbs required to take your item from normal rarity to a fully completed rare with guaranteed high tier mods.
I guess.
On top of these new core crafting currencies, we wanted to make sure there are powerful crafting bases to use them on. Now in endgame, you can start to find exceptional items. These are items that drop at normal
Wow.
rarity
Quality
and
is
are perfect for your
28%.
from-scratch crafting projects. They can come with extra quality, up to 30%, or
Wow.
an additional socket to use your crafting socketables in. And yes, they can be corrupted for yet another socket.
What?
You can also get exceptional unique items. To add even further to your crafting arsenal, we've added a whole suite of new omens to ritual content, and removed some of the more unimpactful ones that weren't being used. Some of the new omens include the Omen of the Ancients, which will cause your next Orb of Chance to not destroy the item, but generate a random unique of the same class. Or the Omen of Sanctification, which is my new favorite. This will cause your next Divine Orb used on a rare item to reroll the values of its modifiers, allowing it to exceed the normal minimum and maximum values, raising the ceiling on the new most powerful rare items in the game. This omen will also cause your item to become sanctified. Sanctified items cannot be crafted, just like corrupted ones, so consider carefully when you use this. Another is the Omen of Chaotic Monsters, which will cause your next Chaos Orb to reroll all modifiers on a Waystone, allowing you to fix your maps if you get some modifiers that are not feasible for your build. Besides these examples, there is a huge variety of new omens for you to discover in your ritual encounters. With the release of Act 4, notably taking place in the Karori Archipelago, you'll be able to now find a new currency item, Henikora's Lock. Henikora, the Karori goddess of death, has the power of foresight and is able to see many futures, including the outcome of your next craft. So, imbuing her lock onto an item gives you that same power too. For example, you'll know whether or not to use an Exalted Orb on your item, as you will know exactly what the outcome is. So, with all these new crafting improvements, it's safe to say you're going to be making some epic items, and not necessarily just ones for yourself. So given that, it's time to talk about a massive one.
Here we go.
Trade.
Trade system, y'all. Here we go.
It's finally here. The moment we've all been waiting for. Fully asynchronous trade. Over the years, the way players trade with each other in Path of Exile 1 has morphed from using the forums, through to the in-game chat, all the way through to using the website.
Here we go,
These
y'all.
systems,
Trade system.
in all their iterations,
Here we
worked for
go.
a while, but with each iteration, new problems
Let's see
eventually
the trade
revealed
system.
themselves. Be it requiring you to be in your hideout too much instead of out there killing monsters, or never getting responses from people who are either AFK or just can't be bothered. In order to finally solve this, and this has been a long time coming, we're adding a new system that allows you to buy items from other players without requiring the seller to be present. They can continue farming, killing monsters, AFK as they please, and can even be offline. With the introduction of King's March in Act 4, you will encounter Ange, assistant to Rog in the Meridian Free Traders Company. Over the last 2 decades or so, since Path of Exile 1's storyline, Faustus has handed down his knowledge and expertise to Ange, and she is now ready to take over his business. If you have a hideout unlocked already, you can immediately invite her there. If you don't have a hideout yet, you will need to acquire one. You can do this by completing a quest to defeat one of the bosses inhabiting an island in Act 4, allowing you then to take a slice of it for yourself, making it your new home and base of operations. Once invited to your hideout, she will now serve as operating your currency exchange, but also serve as the figurehead in your new trading empire. So, how does this new system work? In the existing trade system, you would list items for sale in premium stash tabs. And then when someone wanted one, you'd have to take it out for yourself and trade it to them.
Right.
Now, instead of using those, you can give your items to Ange so she can sell them for you. Each item must have a price set.
Thank goodness,
The
bro.
prices are set using in-game currency items.
This is such a
such as
great
Exalted
addition
or
to
Chaos
trading.
Orbs. Once a price is set, other players will be able to find the item by searching for it on the trade website. Once a desired item has been found, you can hit a button, which will instantly teleport your character in-game to their hideout. Then, you can immediately purchase the item. And
Wow.
while there, if you want, browse their other goods,
Wow.
in case there's a good deal someone else hasn't yet discovered.
Wow.
You'll notice that as a buyer, on top of the currency
This is
the seller
such
set for
a
the price,
great,
it also costs gold
great
to purchase
addition
an
to
item,
trading.
as Ange has bills to pay after all. As a seller, you'll immediately receive a notification when an item of yours is sold. You can also see an
W
effect
trade
above Ange in your
system.
hideout when she has unclaimed currency.
W new trade system, y'all.
Just go talk to her, claim your currency, and continue playing at your leisure.
Absolutely amazing. You could just keep playing
As
and
many
let
people
all
already
your like
acquire
sales
premium
happen
stash tabs for the purpose
automatically.
of the trade system,
You're pretty
we
much
wanted to add a
auto
way
bombing
for
your
you to
trade
convert
system
your
now.
existing tabs to merchants tabs, if you want. You can do that here on the website, but only if you purchase those tabs before the release of the Third Edict. To clarify, the existing trade system will remain fully intact, so your premium stash tabs will not lose any of their functionality. We just figured people might want to switch over to this new system. We expect a lot of feedback around this new system and are looking forward to trying it out with you. As we are not able to test internally with an entire, thriving economy, there will certainly be some kinks to work out. Based on how the system goes, we will be adding it to Path of Exile 1 when ready, so any of the tabs you purchase will also be usable there later.
Nice.
Next up, we're going to be talking about our new supporter packs. Today, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs, the Justice and Trathan Executioner packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value in points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions. As always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way.
Ooh.
The Justice series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. Claim glory after defeating enemies, or inspire your allies by calling down the Banner of Justice portal. The Sphinx Mystic hideout decoration will identify items for you, displaying them as it does so. This ancient creature has been presented with many items over the eons, so has some strong expressions to make on the quality of your wares. Become a true warrior, worthy of delivering the justice of the eternal gods, with the Apostle of Justice armor set. This armor set also comes with a matching back attachment containing a set of scales to measure your worth. With the Apostle of Justice finisher effect equipped, the Goddess of Justice herself will appear to decide on a verdict for slain unique enemies. Witness as she decides the fate of your slain foes. Will they ascend to be amongst the gods, or be banished to the underworld? The Griffin fledgling pet will be a
Those
courageous
supporter
companion
packs, I
as
don't
you
really-
journey throughout Rayclast.
I don't really care about that until like I actually see it in the game.
Take your place in the skies in the Plateau of the Gods hideout. This hideout comes with many different sections.
The
for setting
hideouts
up
are
your
cool
home
though.
or base
I'm
of
not gonna
operations.
lie about that. The hideouts are
In order
always
to
so
travel
cool.
between them, you simply just need to walk off the
Whoa,
edge.
like look at that, bro.
Like
What?
a true eternal god, you can float between the mountains on the clouds
funny.
themselves. The Trathan Executioner pack series also contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. The Trathan Executioner finisher effect is a brutal display of
Oh, we got
Trathan might,
finisher effects.
crushing
Nice.
slain unique enemies as if they were bugs beneath your heel. As a Trathan Executioner, you're the perfect master for the ever-hungry carrion raptor pet. It has taken a particular liking to the taste of other pets, and at your command it will swoop down and eviscerate them, proceeding to satisfy its hunger by feeding on their corpse. The nobles of the 4 major Trathan houses had their mercenaries, but if their hired hands became notably irritating, they'd have to call in the Trathan Executioners. You can now embrace their methods and become brutality incarnate with the Cruel Trathan Executioner armor set. The matching Cruel Trathan Executioner cloak will shroud you in scarlet as you crush the skulls of your enemies and leave a trail of blood behind you as you build up a kill streak. Or use the alternate variant to simply put a skeleton on your back. Be bathed in blood as you mutilate monsters with the Cruel Trathan Executioner character effect. The swirling blood increases in volume as your spree of slaughter continues. Both this effect and the cloak use the same kill streak for tracking how much blood is shown.
Oh man.
After a long and tiring day of executions, enjoy a relaxing game of dice with the Goblin Gambler's Hideout decoration. They'll definitely be playing fair, right? The Pulverizer map device brings a horrid efficiency to punishing the damned of Trathus. Each map you open will execute the next victims. This map device in its true ruthlessness tracks the total number of monsters killed, your kills per second, and your largest kill streak up to the point of the map being completed. This is then displayed on a leaderboard so you can take a measure of you and your friends' violence at the end of each map. Additionally, any microtransactions from the supporter packs will be made available for use in Path of Exile 1. That's enough about cosmetics. Let's get into the Q&A.
There it
But
is.
Firstly, I want to give a huge thank you for your ongoing support.
Of course.
We're just about to start the Q&A with
Path
Ziggy
of
D.
Exile
Afterwards, at 11 a.m. NZ
0.3.
time, or 4 p.m. Pacific, we'll post Path of Exile 2, the Third Edict's patch notes. With the release at the end of next week, our community team will be posting crucial information you need for the release. Keep an eye on the news. Thanks for joining us today and checking out our latest developments. We're looking forward to seeing your experiences with Act 4 and its new bosses, fighting the Abyssal, trying new builds, and crafting new items. We'll begin the Q&A shortly, so please get your questions ready.
Cool. All right. I will be back in like 2 minutes.
Hello, and welcome back, Exiles. After a absolutely monumental reveal, we now have a suitably juicy Q&A session for you. Probably like 2 hours or something, so grab a cuppa, grab a snack, and settle in. I'm joined once again by Jonathan and Mark to discuss a lot. The patch that had to fix all the things, right?
That was the goal. I mean, we didn't quite get to literally everything, but we certainly managed to do a lot of things that we were very keen to do.
Yeah, you guys were telling me that this was.
All right, we're back. Q&A, huh? No new
I felt like there
class.
was a lot of pressure on this one too.
Yeah, no new
Absolutely.
class,
We've
but
obviously got a lot
the
to
whole
prove.
skill
We
system
need to make
is
sure that we're
different.
well, put it
Like
this
the
way,
whole
I wouldn't
skill
want people to
system is
feel like
different.
we,
It's a huge overall.
that
So
we don't have answers to a lot of the things that people
I
have
feel
been
like everyone's
ahead
going to
of.
be
So,
pretty new.
yeah, we really tried to do as much as we could in one go to kind of do everything.
And
We didn't
they
get to literally everything, but we
and
got
the
quite a lot
whole
of it. I'm
tree,
thinking that
skill tree
people will be a lot
system has
happier with
been
this release than they were
changed
with the
as
last one.
well.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked to see how much was in this one, especially given that you've moved to this kind of like 4 and 2 cycle of, you just feels like you just released the Path of Exile 1 expansion, which also had a lot of pressure on it to be a big one as well.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly hard. I mean, look, the really hard part is having to make an act at the same time. Like that's a really huge commitment. So I'm certainly going to be happy once we finish the campaign because we're going to be back to normalcy again. But
I think they're having problems with their
what
audio.
it does do is it means that there's like a huge amount of content to draw from. There's obviously a huge amount for new for
Some of
new
those
players
warrior
who,
skills
are
looked
not
cool
necessarily
now.
in-game
Yeah,
players as well, because you've
they
got all
did
the,
actually.
the new campaign stuff. So it's like a pretty big deal for all that stuff. But it also meant we could take a bunch of that stuff and move it into the end game too. So the end game kind of sees a big expansion as well. So yeah, it's been quite.
I think their audio is
I remember
fixed
early
now.
on we had the process. Actually, we just literally grabbed my whiteboard in my office and we just wrote down every single problem.
Yeah.
Yo, you know what was
So
cool
it's-
was
yeah,
the
not a strategy
unarmed
we've done to
monk.
this degree, this methodically before.
That
right?
was
Right,
cool
like,
to
okay,
me.
We have to solve everything on this whiteboard.
Literally
And-
made a tier list up there.
Yeah,
Like,
we
this is
had a
T1, this
tier
is
list.
T2.
We
Like,
actually,
Especially the
every
ascendancy that no one
problem,
really
all
used, the
things that are
acolyte
there,
one.
like,
They
performance and things
changed
that
it
aren't
up so you can
necessarily
actually
actual,
use it now.
game content
I
and
mean,
all
the
that.
Make
very,
all your
the
damage
very top
chaos.
of the list was campaign is a slog, right? Like that was the one that we were like, we got to solve that. So things like that were just like because we're really trying to be honest.
Yeah,
about,
but
like,
do you
here are
get
the
any
issues.
weapon benefit
The
from
reason-
that?
Interesting
You do
about
not get
everything is
weapon
because
benefits from
fix all of it, and we didn't get to fix. We aren't fixing it literally.
Ashley
We're
with
fixing
the
almost
Prime
quite a
Gaming
lot,
subscription.
and I'm sure
Thank you
you've seen
so
some stuff here
much.
and there.
You
However,
are too
Obviously,
nice.
as we're
Thank
watching
you
Twitch
so
chat, there was
much.
a huge amount of stuff about towers.
Wow.
We had a plan; it was on the list. It just unfortunately we couldn't get time to sort it.
But the
yeah, it's one of
monk
it's one of
gets
the
a
notable
passive from having unarmed
I would say.
Yeah, so
equipped,
we'll
so it
kind of
acts like
discuss
a
all the
weapon
visual
buff.
stuff for endgame soon
Yeah.
as well, so that you can give people
Oh,
some
shout
visuals
out
of where
Ashley.
you want to go with that. But we should also mention just the other elephant in the room, or the lack of the elephant in the room, with the druid.
Yes.
No elephant form, but the druid.
You are too kind, Ashley. Thank you so much. Appreciate
The
you.
thing that druid has been uniquely challenging to get shipped. It's been something you've been working on for a while now, and just getting it right. What has been the challenge with druid and getting it out?
Well, I mean, okay, so we started believing that we were going to have Druid in this version. And that was the case for at least 2 months of the 4 months of development that we were that we had here. And obviously, like a bunch of work had gone on before that as well. But at some point, we realized, like, we don't want to have the mistake that we effectively had with 020, where like we put a huge amount of effort into the class and then we didn't get time to fix like all of the concerns that people had outside of that, right? Because obviously the same resources go into making a new class as go into balancing the old ones and making all that stuff, right? So if we don't
It's
have
kind
the
of
balance in, like,
disappointing that we
release, it kind
didn't
of
get
feels
the
a bit bad
droid.
to, like be throwing in a class that's kind of
Like, it's a
effectively
little
disrupting that.
salty in my
So
mouth,
then what
man.
that meant was at some point we're like, okay, since we don't believe we can get both the class and all these other balance changes we want to make in at the same time,
Because,
it's
like,
actually better to cut the class and then have the
there's
the balance
supposed
changes
to
instead.
be, like, at
So
least,
that's what we
like,
ended up doing.
5 or
Obviously, it was
6
like a
more
really
classes
hard
coming
thing
out.
to cut because obviously like you're going to have another one without a class. Like it feels really terrible.
Yeah,
But
I get it.
we've got the philosophy now of like we have to make sure that we're in the release month that we say we're going to be in. So therefore something had to go, and unfortunately that was it. But it means we've obviously got to
Yeah, I
keep shit
mean,
set up for when we actually do.
it's
do it
crazy.
next
They
time.
didn't
And I mean, look,
release
there was
any
so much stuff that was cut, like
classes,
even as large as it is,
or
there's like
they didn't talk about
sentences and all
any
sorts of stuff that
classes,
was
new
cut out
classes.
that
There's
wasn't
no new
there. But
classes,
we'll
and
get to
no
it.
new
But yeah, more
ascendancies
importantly, just
either.
make sure that people are happy with the stuff
There are
that's in,
no new
and make sure all
ascendancies.
those changes are great, and make sure obviously you've got answers for stuff, right?
I
Yes,
think
the
to be
skills are
fair,
different.
it's
Yes, cool,
it's
but
a big part of it's just the fact that the shapeshifting, getting it looking and feeling.
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
is
no, I mean
probably
it's a
really,
huge
really
deal.
challenging, right?
It's hard. Like there's so much animation stuff that has to go into making.
I really
film
hope they
feel right.
fix
So
the
yeah,
demon
like
form for the witch. I
that's
kind of want to
we'll
play
get
the
there. Like I
demon
don't think we're
form.
that far away from it now, so it's just a question of prioritization.
Yeah, it seems like is probably the hardest class of all. Then
Might be, yeah.
I think it will be.
Yeah.
you're getting a bit more ambitious as you go with each
That is
class
true.
too, which
That
is
is true. Every class is a step
Not
up from the
helping.
last in terms of that. Yeah.
yes. So I guess on that note, do you have a vision for who's next after Druid, or is it kind of a race between them to see who ends up feeling the most
Well, I've
finished?
always said that it would be criminal to go into full release without having swords. So that's
Yes.
that's
It's
kind
a
of a
little
pretty
bit
glaring.
it's a little bit criminal to get this far without.
Yeah,
having
to be
swords.
honest, it is. Yeah. So I'd say
It
that
is
would be.
weird when you think about
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
It's
so
real weird.
unusual.
It's real weird.
So that would be an obvious candidate. Is making sure that we've got
So
that.
that people can infer from that some sort of duelist or something, most likely being the sword one. And as you said, the ascendancies are just kind of the same boat as you weren't satisfied with where they were at to be able to get those in. So that's the things you missed,
Damn.
but that's like the list of the things you missed. That and doing something with towers.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
now we can talk about what you have done. We'll jump into endgame first. Since
I
I know
think
people-
it's kind of weak.
Towers and stuff have been a hot topic.
0.3.
We'll talk about the endgame. This wasn't ostensibly supposed to be an endgame update, from what you were telling me, but it still seems like a pretty big endgame update in the end.
Yeah, I mean, well, part of that is because we obviously get all the content that we produced for the campaign. We get to make all the endgame versions of that.
Yeah.
That obviously adds quite a lot. But we did want to make sure that we weren't just being like, okay, so we're adding a bunch of bosses. Like, we wanted to make sure that the more epic ones that we added to the campaign have some new mechanic for them on the Atlas as well. So that's where we had those various mechanics with, like the sandstorm and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Those kind of like Atlas events. And it really does contribute to the feeling of exploration to have more of that stuff. And then, of course, once you've got that, you need to start getting into, okay, well, what rewards is it going to drop? Then we started to think we need a new category of rewards that these things can have. And that's, we started to think about the lineage supports and that kind of stuff. So it just ended up kind of adding up to quite a bit in the end. But it isn't like kind of like the big end game change that we wanted to do. Like we had a design for that, but we just kind of haven't quite got to it.
I need to see the patch
but
notes.
it still ends up being quite a lot. And one of the big
patch
things
notes
that
are gonna
also
be
I think
good.
will help bridge is the kind of mid.
I want to see
part, like that's still a problem that we want to
what's a good
improve,
way to
but,
do a
like
leveling
that's
build.
quite a lot there because you're seeing that stuff on the Atlas a bit earlier.
What's the
I
problem
think
there
the
as you
witch
identify it?
minions
I mean,
is going to
you've got
be
this
one of
issue
the
where
top
effectively,
leveling builds
and we
this
are doing
week.
some stuff to address this, but effectively you've got
Because
like
of
the
all the
pinnacles
buffs.
end, and you've got like obviously when you start you've got a bunch of content, but it doesn't feel like there's those kind of mid end game goals that you can easily achieve. That's kind of the issue that we're trying to
just a
solve.
lack of direction, right?
Right.
I think there's not enough like really guiding you. Like the narrative kind of falls apart there, right? Because it's just like open world, and you want a bit more of telling you where to go, what to do, have those goals where you're like, I want to do this next and this next, as opposed to like I could do this or this or this. It's nice to have those, but it's nice to also have the things kind of directing you as to like this is exactly what I want to do. The boss I want to get to. So there's kind of just a big gap there. We want to add a whole bunch of stuff in the middle there. We have
I
a huge
wonder
plan, but
how
again,
much those
it's
hoodies cost. The Path of
we need
Exile
to-
hoodies.
So you got this working on a campaign, you've got working on the end game, and you got all these like how do you juggle all of these things? It is brutally difficult, and you end up having to think. So I would expect next expansion to be way more end game centric in terms of fixing all of this, because it was on the whiteboard.
But we did do some stuff with what we had. So like that splinter change, I think, is going to be quite a big one. Like it doesn't look like much from what we showed, but what it does mean is that you've got pinnacle fights earlier in your in the experience, and of course you've got the thing where we're making it make more sense with regard to the difficulty, the access to the different difficulties, by having it so that it's cheaper to get to the lower tier ones. So that helps quite a lot, and I think that'll improve things quite a lot even just from that. So yeah,
and
like
of course you got the league now in Endgame as well.
And of course there's a league there too.
The Wisps were Wisps. Sure, wasn't really a league. It's kind of just like wasn't
not a full-fledged
what we've
league
done
mechanic.
before.
That is true. The league mechanic
even know what a league
has
is.
added a lot
we
of
kind of had it with
content.
Dawn of the Hunt, but yeah, I mean having
And
Abyss in
things
every
to
single
do.
area. There are abyssal icons you can find on the map. You can't add them because they are in every area, the Abyss. So, and you have, different the waystone crafting and stuff like that. So there's a lot of endgame just added by the league's existence as well.
Plus a lot more combination of the league mechanic with other mechanics as well, which is something that I'm always keen for with leagues, is like have a bit more interaction.
Yeah,
So,
you were telling me that you had specifically made it so that Abyss would have specific interactions with basically everything else.
For sure.
Like if a Rogue Exile's standing there, you get a special boss based on the Rogue Exile. So that's rather interesting extra combination stuff there. It is interesting because this is a league mechanic. It's in every zone. It's guaranteed. That's part of a league mechanic. But does this also have like Atlas tree integration in the way that it would later on as it becomes like a core element?
No, not the way that's kind of handled is through some of the waystone crafting.
Yeah.
Depending when the league ends, we obviously do the whole again more for people who maybe don't know what a league is and how we handle this stuff in PoE1. I'll over-explain it a little bit, but yeah, generally we review the state of it at the end. We see what changes we want to make. Sometimes we add it to the core game immediately, sometimes later, and then we add it to the tree and decide how we want to invest into all the different things. But we try and have the meta progression, so to speak, of a league within the leagues itself, and not connected to the core tree, because you could have a separate tree. It is a thing you could do. But in this case, it comes in the form of the waystone crafting.
You did an experiment with that recently in Path of Exile 1, doing that in a league, and you didn't exactly like the result.
Different because it's not a separate tree, and that was during Necropolis, yes, and it felt like because it's in every area, you have to take it.
Yes, exactly.
So that didn't work. We're not going to repeat that mistake. It could be a separate tree, but we just did it through the waystone crafting stuff instead, and you can invest in the Abyss and juice the Abyss that way. And
I mean, we'll see how we fold it all in as we go into the 040 though. Like that'll be an interesting one.
All right. Well, one of the kind of like endgame issues that I've identified in the past was kind of how the Atlas trees worked and progressed and what they afforded, and it felt very top heavy. Like you had to beat the boss to get points to just scale.
Well, that's what I'm talking about with the lack of mid game stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's changed now though.
That is a great change. You don't have to
bosses at all. They're just
fight the pinnacle bosses to upgrade. There's trees
so,
in your Atlas tree, whatever.
We made some changes to that.
It's based on how many splinters
since last night. And thus, it wasn't in the live stream accurately. It was talking about how you have to complete specific objectives like killing the Delirium boss and whatnot to get your points. It's actually just now you follow the quest line, and there's a point in where you get the tablet, which is after you find the league and you kill the, just do a Delirium, you successfully go back and get a tablet. You're also going to get the first 2 points there. Now, I wanted to change it so that you can get like, if we have 8 points, you get 4 points before the pinnacles and 4 points from the pinnacles. Right now it's 2 and 6. We're still looking at this just because we made a change last night. There's a good chance we might end up, adapting this a little bit more. So it's even the first 2 points come even sooner and even more obviously. Like you don't have to RNG into finding a boss in order to get those first 2 points now, which was mentioned there. No longer going to be the case.
But we just want to really make sure we're smoothing that progression through, getting that stuff earlier, all that sort of stuff.
So the other thing, was you've got this kind of world map. It seems to be exploration focused. The recent updates you did in Dawn of the Hunt actually, I felt were a big step forwards in that regard. There was a lot more exploration with the new unique maps, and even towers. I felt like when you're using them as an exploration feature, work quite well. Like they leapfrog you to your next. You see that next unique map over the hills, and that's like a cool motivator that pulls you through, and that helps with that mid game issue you were talking about. Is that kind of the goal? Is to make this like really exploration focused?
It's certainly something that I really love, and the more things you add to the Atlas, the more it feels like you're finding things. But yeah,
they gotta talk about sprinting.
That you've got this tension between
you can sprint in the game now. How funny is that?
That's something that we need to look into addressing. But
we gotta sprint,
I don't want to kind of talk explicitly about exactly what we're going to do here, just because there's obviously a lot in flux there still. But yeah, it's something that we understand the problem. I would say. Like I would understand that there's an issue, and so yeah, we will
Imagine
we'll
they
be
add
addressing,
righteous
that
fire
later.
somehow, like
Yes,
at
the
some
brand
point,
name
and
of
then you can
towers
sprint
seems
while
kinda
having
hard
righteous fire,
currently, like, it seems like
or
almost
some
no
sort
matter
of
what
like
you do with them,
righteous
there's gonna be
fire
some
type
sort of
build.
maybe just delete towers because we have the bad association with it.
That is
going
a
on.
that is a
Interesting.
concern, but I suspect that we'll still want to keep them at
That'd be
least for
pretty
just
cool.
vision. Like even if we remove
Yeah.
the mechanic
Yeah.
and do other stuff, like we'll just keep them there. So I still think it's fun to just find a tower just to get a circle of vision around it.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's
sure.
the part that people are unhappy about with them. So therefore, it'd be fine to keep that and move like other power sources and other things that you can do somewhere else.
And I even like the empowering the maps because that is an element of control, which is another thing people.
Well,
have issue
I
with
mean,
this
I
right
still
now.
want something that does that. I just
Yeah.
think that it needs to work differently than how it works.
Yeah,
So,
I guess the issue seems to come down to, from what I see, and maybe chat might have other things that they mention about their issues with towers, but the issue, as I see it, is about that feeling that you still need to be stacking tower mechanics on top of other stuff, and if you're not kind of bringing all those things together, then it feels like you're wasting time.
My fundamental issue with them is the way that you know that something sucks before you even run it, and that's always bad.
Yeah.
Like effectively, it's like, okay, like if you're running maps that don't have a tower around them, you're like, okay, well I know this is bad, or and so I feel bad because like I just have to get to the next tower, and then like when you've done one tower, but you know that two tower overlapping is a thing, then you're like, okay, well I feel bad running a one tower overlap thing when I know that two tower stuff is a thing as well. So there's just this problem of like you know that it sucks beforehand, and I think that's never a good thing. Like it's actually the opposite of the action RPG philosophy of like the reason you have random drops is because like any monster could be the one that drops the next thing.
Exactly.
And if you don't have that, then it's like you feel bad for playing the con because you know
I'm
it's not
calling
based
it
already.
now.
So
I'm
you
getting
need
a
that, like,
divine
random
orb
element
drop,
more. So
Act
there
2.
needs to be some adjustment to make that better.
Yeah, do you think that's like bringing
First
up
divine
what
orb
the
is going to be dropped in Act
base
2.
map experience can be in terms of its upper potential, like adding more
I don't-
interesting confluence of variants?
I mean, look, I always like more interesting combinations of stuff to happen, but I don't necessarily think that the core problem is like lack of ability to juice things.
Yeah.
Like, I think the core problem is to do with the fact that like you don't. Like when it already sucks, as I said, like it's just kind of like that thing there. So we need to sort of like there will need to be some approach to solving making it more controllable, like more deterministic in some way, like just something along those lines, so that you can so that you don't have this feeling of like because of a thing I can already see that sucks, that this experience is going to be worse than what I'm hoping for.
So, somewhat related to this, another thing I see brought up all the time is being able to kind of choose what map you're doing and just being able to exert more elements of control. I saw a post in chat just there that was like the idea of being able to kind of erect a tower where you want it,
Right.
rather. Like, is this element of like being able to choose your maps a little bit more, or have a bit more influence on what's happening?
So I think having control over what content is there is good, but I don't know that I want to lose the fact that you still have the Atlas fundamentally where you like the actual map areas you get are random, and part of the reason for that is that it gives us a lot of opportunities to do interesting things with like different maps can have different things that they drop and other stuff like that. Like there's a lot of that sort of stuff that's like quite nice. Like you can actually have a unique map be way more powerful if like it's kind of you don't know exactly when you'll encounter it. So that kind of stuff is quite nice, and we want to do a lot more as well on the Atlas, like just more stuff to find. Like when we get to 040, I really want it to be that like you really feel like there's just cool stuff in every map that you might be finding that's like
They're already
that's
talking
way
about
more interesting.
04,
And as I said,
like-
that stuff, the problem is if you have full control over literally being able to run the same map every single time, like the same like base area, it means that you don't have the ability to say, okay, well this map can randomly have this thing that's just like really awesome that always drops a unique or something like that, because then you're just going to run that map over and over and over. So I still like some ability to have to find the good stuff.
So they're
in the
saying
Atlas.
04,
We just need more control over what mechanics you
0.4
can spawn there
update is
and
going to
that
be
kind of stuff, and,
focused heavily on
not
endgame.
not having the experience of like if I didn't get this exact overlap, then I have this bad experience.
Let's recap.
And that's
a
where
little.
exploration actually comes from as
0.3
well, is not
skill
is having some
overhaul.
element of not having that control
Act
as well.
4.
Maybe it is the case more of just keeping like juicing up that exploration aspect
Abyss.
even
Right.
more.
Right.
Anyway, that's what I'm. It already felt like a big improvement with that last one, and we're getting
Those are
new
the top
maps and
3.
new
Oh yeah,
mechanics
trading
and things
system.
scattered in the
And of course the
zones as
main
well.
thing,
So there seems like there's a bit
sprinting.
more going
Yeah,
on
the main
there.
point, like we did what we could, 100%.
That's a little recap.
And 040 expect a lot more improvements there. But again, we focus more on everything else. There's a an insane amount of content there. It's We wish Towers was in that list, but it will be. Don't worry.
Yeah.
These things are coming. We're aware of the problems. We are aware, like 100%. You know, it was expected when we got to that section to see a bunch of.
And I think a lot of people are going to be getting a chance to experience some stuff they didn't experience because it came later in last league, and maybe they had tapped out before then. So there's a good bit of extra stuff to explore there, maybe with this one. We'll loop back around to endgame if people have more questions that they post and that we pull from the chat. But we'll move on to the Act 4 and the interludes, because that's a pretty big thing. Obviously, getting rid of Cruel was a priority. You wanted to do that as soon as possible.
Goodness, they got rid of Cruel mode.
Laboring over for many months.
Out of everything, bro, the whole patch could have been, okay, no more Cruel mode, the end. And I would have been fine with that.
Once, or do some weird thing.
I hated doing Cruel mode.
Come up with making more acts to solve the problem instead of
So there was certainly some skepticism when I first proposed this about like how can we possibly do that? But basically, the main thing there was that like, okay, so the interludes are not exactly the same as an act in terms of like, you know, like each one of them is like, you know, a straight line, like you're going from here to here. There's no like, you know, like different, there's no complexity around the plot or anything. It's just like a single goal of like, you know, someone's telling you to do this, go deal with it. There's bosses along the way, you know, there's new areas along the way, but all of that stuff we can use in in-game as well. So that means we're not kind of wasting any of the arts. The only thing we're really wasting is like a kind of like a you know, like a little bit of like storyline structure around it. But as I said, it's not nearly the same level of like narrative structure as what you get in like a full act. And that's something that and ultimately what we realize is to get from the end of Act 4 to the end game level, all you need is like 20 areas roughly to kind of to bridge that gap. And so that means that I was like, you know what, like with like 20 areas, I reckon we can do it if we're like, you know, we're using a few mechanics from maps, we're taking some, you know, we're doing a lot of art reuse, that kind of stuff. Like we can find a way to make something pretty quick, and it won't necessarily hold up for like years and years, but it will certainly be good enough for you know, just like for a relatively short period of time. And by the time you get to that point anyway, like you're usually pretty fast as a character. You're like rushing through, you know, just to get to end game. So I think that that'll end up being like pretty damn good for the time being. Plus, you know, new bosses, new stuff to experience. Like, you know, in my opinion, it was a no-brainer to do it compared to some weird thing like having to repeat Act 1 and 2 again or something weird like that. Like that just wouldn't have been good. And we really wanted to get rid of Cruel. I mean, like we never wanted Cruel to exist, right? It existed as a compromise.
The Cruel mode was so annoying to do.
Is obviously, you know, something we were very, very keen to do.
Yeah, there was something. You know, you get to the Act 1 Crawl, and you're like, I've know all this content. You're ultra powerful, and that's a little bit feel good. And then you're like, doing all this again.
Exactly.
You know, it's just like a little bit like, just you know you can do it. You know at that point you're like, just get me to end game, like, you know. Whereas when you're playing through, you know, the new acts, like it feels. Well, with Act 4 and the interlude, it feels just a lot more natural and, you know, still fun, and you're discovering stuff, and, you know, it's not that just like, I just did this, like, you know, at least for fast players as well, they're going to be like, oh my God, I just did this like a few hours ago. You know, it's like just too short of a time. But one thing about Act 4 and the interlude, by the way, which I think is really cool, which is very different, and something, you know, you don't really appreciate until you play, is you get to Act 4 and you're like, okay, where do I go? Well, I have many places I can pick. I mean, Jonathan was talking about how, you know, their kind of interludes are kind of straight lines, but there's three of them.
But there's three of them. You can do them in any order.
There's a choice immediately there, right?
You can do those in any order.
You can do them in any order.
You can do them in any order. When you complete one or partially complete
I just
one,
realized
the other two. They always stay, you know, ahead, and they bridge the gaps. You can do them in whatever order you want.
It'll be interesting.
They didn't mention anything about a new trial
available.
Like the spirit
for your
draft comes
ascendancy.
from one.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, where another might be more passive point heavy, and another might be more permanent bonus heavy, and another, you know, like, there's going to be all kinds of crazy stuff going on there. So you go in Act 4 where you've got full freedom of like choice of which island you want to sail to, and then you go into the interlude and you're like, which part would serve me best? And maybe the answer is do a couple areas of this part and then swap to another and do that one, and then, you know, like, who knows? Which is fine, because again, as you progress through them and defeat the bosses, the other ones will level up and keep up with the level. So you can do half of
I was
each,
thinking
and
about
then
like
do
how
the
the
half of
leveling
each again.
is
You
going
can
to
do an
work
area
with
of
those.
each, and then, you know.
That's wild.
Side
I didn't
acts.
realize the interludes were sandboxy like that, because I was planning on asking about how the fact that Act 4 is like a sandbox for like the great portion of it there. And that's going to be super interesting from like racing and speedrunning perspective as to what people take. But also that does seem like it might help with the campaign slog, you know, the repetitiveness of it if you can kind of do things in a different order each time. Is there some good reasons to do it in different orders as well? Like you mentioned, like differences in rewards, differences in challenges too, I imagine, for different builds?
Yeah, for sure. So, like the reward thing is like probably the main reason you'd change the order, depending on what's going to work best for your character right now. So yeah, each one has got stuff that you know, like we're taking all the different fixed bonuses. I think that actually the fixed bonuses are different a little bit now, aren't they, than the way that they were when they were in Crawl? Did you change what stats they were?
Yeah.
I thought you did.
The passive point number is the same.
Yeah.
The spirit is the same, but the other bonuses, we've kept like, you know, we'll still have the resistances that you got before. But some of the other bonuses from, like, for example, Crawls, the snake in Act 3, I can't remember the name of these areas. We have internal names, the old snake chamber. The reward from that will be slightly different because not all three of those options are available, and they're available in different ways. Some of it might be, some of it might not be, and some of it will be in Act 4, some of it might be in the interlude, you know. So it's kind of mix and match all over the place, but there's some pretty cool stuff in the interludes that, you know, you've obviously got your permanent bonuses, you've got your skill points, you've got just like which bosses do I want to do first or last. That's all nice, but you have a little other things subtle. You know, like the first area of one of them, I'm gonna be as spoiler light as possible here, has a wandering vendor that sells, you know, guaranteed rare caster gear, and you can go and be like, I'm gonna go there, check that if I'm a caster, and then I'll go to the other two acts because that might have like a straight up weapon upgrade. And then there's another act that sells a whole bunch of greater runes, and so you might be like, I need some runes, I'm going to go there, find that vendor, get some runes, and then go to another. And then one of them has, and you're going to have to find this for yourself, one of them has a nameless seer in it, and so go for it, find that. And I'm not going to tell you which.
So do you know in advance some of these rewards so that you can make this decision? Like maybe not those kind of secret ones. But...
I think it doesn't. Does it say it on the? Does it show it to you on the world map?
You generally see the icons on the world map up to the point your character and the NPCs could reasonably know about. Okay. So it depends on the act a little bit. In some cases, it's like no humans have been there, so you can't know until you've opened it, and then it will, or until you have been told about it or know about it or advanced the quest, and now you see all the icons. So. Some yes, some not, and
be a bit of a discovery process.
But like, look, it's gonna players are gonna share information pretty damn quickly. But yeah, it's actually quite fun having all this different choice and different axes, and we haven't had this level of like, sure, you've got Path of Exile 1 Act 2 is go left or go right, and you got a little bit of that in like Act 8, but you don't. Get this much like parallel things going on like this in a kind of interesting way. So it'll be. I suspect it'll actually last a little bit longer than we anticipate, given how, you know, we had to put this kind of 3-part thing together so quickly.
Last a bit longer in terms of like players finding it fresh and interesting.
That's the hope.
Okay, good.
All 3 interludes kind of appear on one world map, so you kind of got 3 parallel tracks you can see on one map.
Cool.
So yeah, that's how that works.
It's cool. Decision paralysis is going to set in. Where do I go?
I think a lot of people will just pick one just because it's the first one. Probably. I bet that'll be the most common choice.
You'll see stats on that, I'm sure. It's 60% pick rate for the first option.
Probably.
Left to right's most likely.
Left to right makes sense.
The order of the islands in Act 4 a little bit less predictable. You know, one of those islands, like, you know, there's four permanent bonuses kind of going on in one area kind of thing. It's like a, you know, because...
Go there first.
I'm not going to tell you which ones. But,
okay, I'll have to figure that one out, eh?
Someone will do it, figure it out.
Make the progression guides. But I like the idea that it could be different for different builds too. That would be very cool if that ends up being the outcome, because that will keep things fresh long term. There's a good reason to do it differently and doesn't just get kind of immediately solved. So Act 4 was planned to have a new way of ascending, but that wasn't mentioned here. So
here we go.
It's not quite ready.
We're talking about ascendancies.
It'll be coming a bit later. But you can there's still a quest to go to the place where that is happening. But and we added like a kind of another reward there, you know, just for the time being. But yeah, later on there'll be that. the amount of work required to make that trial just
Gotta
unfortunately
do
wasn't
trial
quite
suck
compatible
my
with
ass
making all of the
again.
other stuff we made. Probably if we
So
hadn't made
dumb.
the interlude, we would have been able to do it. But I think the interlude was more important just to get rid of Crawl. So yeah, we ended up making that decision.
Yeah,
but we'll get to it.
Thank goodness.
Oh,
I was
well.
so stoked Crawl's gone.
It's if it's what most of us imagine it's going to be, I can imagine where a lot of that work comes in. So hopefully, you guys, is it something that you'd like to get ready for next league? Then it sounds like.
Well, I don't want to promise anything because at this
Yeah,
point
fair
we're
enough.
in the mode of like we'll cut stuff if we need to make the release happen. So I wouldn't want to promise anything, but that would be would be nice. We'll just have to see.
I guess the other question then is, do you think it'll be like different enough and appealing to people who don't necessarily want to ascend the other ways?
Well, it's certainly different than the other ones
Yeah,
by a very significant
different.
margin. So yeah, I think that'll be interesting.
And what's the vision for how ascendancy works long term then? So is it the idea that you ascend once in Act 2, once and then again in Act 3, and then again in Act 4?
I mean, you will
You'll
be
get
able to do
6
it that
points
way, but if
that
you
way?
want to do other, I mean, yeah, that's a way to do it. But if you want to, just if you like a certain trial better, doing it that way is also fine too.
It's just interesting because there's like not as much of a gap as there usually is between those first 6
Guess not.
months that way.
I
Like they're
guess
quite
not.
rapid fire. So and then it would be a big gap until the end game, and you do your choice of fourth one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we see that as fine. Like you kind of want to get your build locked in to some degree.
This guy
by the
here
time
about
you
to
get
watch
that
your
sort of
stream
range.
from the beginning. Hey, bet.
In the past before,
Right.
where we had, where it was like right at end game.
So I'm mixed. I'm mixed about it, Brody.
So,
I'm mixed
I think
about
that
it.
was
Feel
obviously
free to
then
say your thoughts
continuing
whenever
the-
you get
the
to the
campaign
points.
slug
I'll
kind
probably
of
finish
discussion
watching
was,
like the
just
Q&A.
The speed of the campaign, how that tied in with difficulty, zone sizes, and things like that. You guys did a whole bunch of big changes a couple weeks into the
Yeah.
last league where you reduced zone sizes. and
Yeah,
things
yeah.
like
So we
that.
did a bit of that. That's one of those things that's a bit hard to see exactly until you've played it a couple of times.
Yeah.
So I like, for example, right now, like the first time you play through Act 4, I doubt you'll be worried about zone size. Second time, then it might then start to realize like what places are too big and what places aren't. So there'll probably be a little bit of adjustment to that even as we do the first couple of patches in 030 as well. Just because, like as I said, it's actually a bit hard to appreciate until you've kind of played it a few times. But the sprint helps a lot. Like sprint is a big deal as far as like changing how the game feels in this regard. So if you're fast and you know how to use it well and that kind of stuff, you can motor quite a lot more than you were. It'll be interesting to sort of see how how many people are using that all the time versus how many people are
I've been
kind of just
using
using
it all the time.
You have, well, yeah. But the thing is, you're an experienced PoE player, right? Like you're gonna be
But
like
like,
that.
there's a fun risk reward to using it that way, though. Like, if you are just using it to traverse or like backtrack or something because you go the wrong way or something like that, then it's pretty cruisy and it works well
Right.
for that. But it also is a very powerful like combat tool. You can use it like a boss is doing something, you can get further away than you could before.
For boss stuff, you can, although it is dangerous, right? Like,
I mean, if you screw it up, then you get knocked down.
yeah. But I think the thing that I find kind of interesting about it as well is that like you can skip monsters now more
Yes.
easily,
Yep.
and that means that if you are overpowered due to getting a good item drop or something like that, you can kind of like motor through a couple of areas a bit more, like sort of then catch up to the point where you sort of feel about right as far as the difficulty, and then keep going from there, like more specifically. So you've got that kind of tool at your disposal. Not something I'd expect like new players to do, or like players who kind of don't want to engage with that stuff. But if you're talking about like like the person who's playing through the campaign the fifth time, certainly that's an option that you've got that can kind of speed you through a little bit faster. So that's something as well that it kind of does, just because you are faster than basically everything. So you can skip past them if
There
you want.
were a bit of like good players, like knowledge players knew how to move a lot quicker. There's a bunch of skills. You get animation cancelling. You got shield charge.
It's true. It's true. The speedrunners already have a way, but like no one really wants. Like, obviously, you don't want to be doing that all the time, right? Like unless you're
just
like really dedicated to speedrunning. So.
Niche, unintuitive, and whatnot. So like there's a simpler way to now close the gap between the players who knew all of that and the ones who didn't, and which is great. And maybe a lot of those players are still using all of those tools even on top of this, and that's fine.
I actually wonder if like the sprinting is faster than like the shield charge, dodge roll, animation cancel shenanigans.
Haven't exactly done a race.
Yeah.
I think it's
get a chance
close.
to.
I'm pretty sure it's relatively close though.
Yeah, well, the difference there.
I know there's some passives in the deck side of the tree for like slightly increasing your speed while sprinting and a few other different things while
here we
sprinting,
go.
like increasing
So you
your
can
evasion
actually
while
increase
sprinting
your
and,
sprinting.
so there's some of that going on as well, that maybe when you speak into all that, you have a more of an advantage over those other skills. We'll see.
Actually buffed dodge roll a bit for the sprint too. Like you
Yes.
can turn a bit better for longer during the dodge roll.
You can. So that one was, man, I'll tell you what. So this is kind of inside baseball stuff, but sprint was like way harder to implement than you might expect. Like it seems like, oh, you just add a speed buff, but like getting it to be smooth and like feel right, and like all of the stuff around like the turning at the end and like all that stuff, that was really, really hard to do. Like it was like there was like a programmer for a very long time just working on sprint issues. Like holy crap. So yeah, like it's one of those things that like every little imperfection of it, so you do it so often, needs to be ironed out.
I'm looking forward to stacking move speed and dodge roll distance in Sanctums and using sprint. I use sprint in the Sanctum and when I was testing earlier, and it's so fun doing some of the things with sprint. It's like we're like mega long dodge rolls into sprinting is gonna so fast.
I mean, we've in general just improved mobility. We've improved and even outside of that, it's like talking about sprint, slog, fast. Like there's more to it. There's obviously dodge rolling has improved. The mercenary, like slow while reloading, but also something like Jonathan and I both just randomly did one day, just logged in on live. We played mercenary and we were both just like,
what happened?
What did we do? What has gone on here?
Well, I
this
believe
feels terrible.
It was the 0-0 change that related to like contact points or something. There was something like that I think broke it. Because the thing is, it wasn't actually feeling like how it felt before we released. So it's like, oh crap, we need to fix this. Something went wrong drastically there. That one really improved it. But we also made a change where you're a little bit faster coming out of when you're using a skill while moving. You're a little bit faster coming out on all classes. So that actually affects the Ranger and the Sork as well a little bit. It's not like at first it seems quite subtle, like but when you play it side by side, it actually makes quite a difference, even though it's a relatively subtle change. Like it worked as well. And then you've got things like with the block being faster, like you're just overall more mobile, with a lot of the stuff. Like I think it's helped a lot. But the nice thing is like we still didn't have to compromise on like making sure the combat still was right. So that's obviously been like a big worry, especially because there's so many other buffs and things to other character classes. Like there is definitely a concern that we've like overcooked, gone too far. Like things are, like things are going to be too easy, and I'm a bit worried about it. But I think it should be okay. We just have to. You
mentioned like the way you've designed this, not meaning you didn't have to compromise on like combat and that, and that was a big hesitance for you. Like you really wanted combat to be not optional in the past. You were talking about before,
for sure.
And things like that. So why does it feel like the way you designed this lets you not compromise on that vision?
Because ultimately, the actual combat itself still works after trying it. Like, and generally speaking, like, even though I may not necessarily agree with something, I'm still willing to try these things. So, we tried it, it works. That's really what it comes down to, right? So, that as long as that's the case, then, then I'm cool with it. I just want to make sure that we don't end up in a situation where, we're just, it's all just like, even during the campaign, it's just one button. Don't have to worry about anything. Like there's no challenge anywhere.
One
like,
button builds are the
because I just
best
find
builds.
that boring. I just don't enjoy it at all. Like I feel like you need to have some level of like actually having to think once in a while. During a boss fight or something like that. So there just has to be a little bit of that left over. Now, sometimes it can be the situation where
this was a good compromise, like 100%. It again, he spoke about how long it took for this programmer to work through it.
Bro always has some nice Adidas shoes.
There's heaps of iterations with these kind of things.
Those
to
Ultra
keep things
Boosts
feel grounded, kinetic, realistic, that kind of stuff. So you're not just like
kind of look like Ultra
wise
Boosts
as well. There's a whole bunch. So when you're taking a chance on a thing like that, and it feels like a compromise.
Is that a real
and you're
TV in the back,
about it,
or is that just like kind of like
I'm
a
glad
poster?
we did pull the trigger on this one and give it a go, because sometimes it is like
Dude, look,
knowing how
the
much
two
resources this
classes
is going to take.
right
If this
there are
fails,
Warrior,
it's a massive waste.
Because I mean, there was another one that was like huge,
Infernalist, and I think that was Warbringer in the back. I think they're hinting that they're the
That
best.
took a bit of convincing to even get people to want to try out. Like that was definitely a worry. Like the concern there is just that, isn't it just going to be that everyone's running the 5 same supports on every single thing? But I was kind of like the amount of I think what we're losing over this is much worse than what we were gaining. You know, like it's something really important, and so I actually now that we've done that, I wouldn't have it any other way. I think it's really, really good change, and that one is, in my opinion, the most important change we're making in 030. I mean, obviously, we've got a bunch of content, but like in terms of like you know, like what single
the support
thing is going to affect
skills,
your gameplay the most, like in terms of character builds and like
no
build
limit
variety,
to support skills.
that change is a huge one. So yeah.
So that means the gemling has to be changed a little.
Because I was definitely in the camp of defending the decision of the one support limit for the logic of it's making you think about how you build each skill differently, not just building every skill for damage, but rather like, okay, which of these damage dealing skills am I going to make more utility or do something else instead? But playing around with it feels like it kind of just lets you use it on 2 skills, like something like Fist of War. And that's just a really big improvement. Like that's a lot more
Mr.
fun.
Favorite 90.
But like the skill design is nuanced
Thanks for the
enough,
follow.
and the supports
I appreciate
themselves
you.
are nuanced enough that you do still seem like you end up with a lot of variety.
Yeah, it definitely works. Like
Mr.
It's funny because in
90
the
baby.
end, it feels like the concern that we had was
Thank
more
you for the
theoretical than
follow.
it actually was
Appreciate you
real, and that's why it's
joining
really important
in.
to actually try these things. Like, and I would say that if the supports and skills were designed like how PoE1
Did they
was,
say they're adding
then
more
you
support
totally would have
skills?
ended
I
up
think they
in
did.
exactly the place that we were worried about.
Pretty sure
But because
they
there's a lot more going on with the way the skills, or just like there's a lot
I know
more
they have the
thought
end
being
game
put into
support
like the exact
skills.
ways that skills interact in PoE2, you kind of end up being fine, and it just ends up being better. So I'm really glad we tried that one because it's super important.
Yeah, and it seems like lineage supports take over the role of this one gem a bit more.
They do. So basically, right at the end, you've got the thing where you can only have one of each lineage support per character, but that's kind of like none of
lineage.
those are like okay. So you know. Something like multiple projectiles or martial tempo, like these things are super important to kind of make skills even viable in endgame.
Exactly.
Whereas the lineage sports don't have the same thing. So we effectively get to keep a little bit of that like interesting decision stuff, but only right at the end when you're kind of at the top end and you're thinking about like hyper optimizing specific stuff or like with interesting mechanics. So we still get to retain a little bit of that there.
It's definitely a huge buff though. Like this change. Like I've been playing Warrior, and I almost feel like
that's a
playing
massive
new
buff
Warrior because
for the game.
It's not any one specific thing. Like the support gem change, the sprinting change, the faster while blocking, being able to block everything. It was way more impactful than I expected.
Weapon swap,
instant
weapon swap is huge.
That's like it's the sum of all these small individual things, and honestly, it was quite hard to design the live stream what we were showing for this reason because it's like it kind of ended up being just like a huge scatter shot of like all sorts of things. It's sort of hard to appreciate.
If you try to
the sum
promote
of
your
it all,
Discord
like,
or your art,
better experience, but
you're
I
being
mean, obviously there's like
reported,
really big things. Like
100%.
you've got the infusion stuff on the Sork, which is like like radically, visibly, obviously changing the class. But it's like when I'm making a case for like why is the warrior better, it's kind of like you got a few new skills, you got like a few different mechanics, but like together it just kind of comes into something that's like way better than it was.
Yeah, I've spent the better part of 2 days trying to put my finger on what it is exactly that is making that, because you were asking me like whether I'm worried that the warrior is a bit too strong. And I'm like, I'm definitely a lot stronger, but I'm trying to figure out what it is exactly, and it's like a bit that, a bit this.
Everything.
Everything. Definitely feels like way more fluid, faster, smoother, chunkier all at the same time, because I've got more Fist of War skills going off. We like the instant weapon swap thing is huge as well. Like that seems like a pretty minor change, but all of a sudden you're not thinking about like there's no reason to not.
Right. There's no reason removing all the reasons why people wouldn't use combos is exactly the focus that we had for a lot of the stuff, right? It's like, what is preventing someone doing a combo here? What can we do to fix it? So you've got like the shock change where that's longer. You've got like the change to chill and that kind of stuff. And there was a whole thing with, we never even talked about Ignite because there kind of wasn't room for it. But Ignite has got a whole different thing where that it does now, where there's like every time you fail to ignite, it builds up flammability. That means your next ignite is more likely. So there's like that. There's like a bunch of changes just all through places,
Ignite
little
buff
things
right
that,
there.
Tweak stuff. One of the ones I know is actually really big is the thing with the curse and the what do you call them? The thing that lowers resistances. What the hell? Exposure. Yeah. So exposures, right? Like it seems so tiny. Like, oh, let's make it so that you don't have individual exposures for different elements. But it's like it actually changes the gameplay so significantly, because the moment that there's something that's going to add 30% more damage in the case that it was before, that you don't have access to if you're going to use cross element. So
Yeah.
you're never going to use cross element, right? Like you're never going to do it. So it's like really, really important to just remove every single barrier that's getting there because
we merged we merged cast on shock ignite and freeze into single.
We did. So
gem.
there's no more cast on shock anymore. It's cast on ailment for that
wow.
reason as well, right? Exactly, right? So literally we're like, let's find every
Cast
single
on
reason that's going
ailment.
to stop you from wanting to be able to use multi-element builds and actually try to improve that, right?
What?
And guess what? You can still just play one element if you want.
Yeah, you can, of course, right? but yet now
Wow.
if you're doing multi-element, there's just no reason anymore not to.
I was so stoked looking at what you were doing.
So
with
they
the
took
elementals,
away
'cause it
cast
feels
on
like
shock,
for the first time, it actually is
or
like an
cast on
elemental,
ignite
so
and
there is
cast on freeze,
mixing of
and
the elements. It's-
added just
because
one
that's a
cast,
fundamental
which is
game
cast on ailment.
design thing with action RPGs, is that it always at some point makes sense to focus in on one very specific thing
Right.
because of scaling. And but it seems like
That's the
gone a
way
long
I
way
understood
towards
it.
solving that issue.
Well, I hope so, because we really tried to fix every single case we could see. Now, there might be still some more, like you'll find there's some random mechanic that only works on one thing, and then people pick that, and we're like, okay, we have to find and make sure that there's something that's going to attract you to every element and play it. I mean, look, part of the upgrades to the individual ailments also really helps because it's giving you another reason. Like, it isn't just that you've removed the things that were preventing you from, like, you want to both have I'm not specializing you because this mechanic works across different elements, but also you want to have like this element has something that you're going to want to use with other elements, right? So like buffing shock, for example, we're like, okay, like, is there enough of a reason to weave lightning into a fire build, right? There wasn't enough of a reason. So by making shock better, it's like, well, then now there is a reason to use two things, but you also want the burn and you also might want the chill, and, you know, like making sure that all that stuff is powerful enough to actually tempt you to actually do it.
Because like 8-second shock, and you even mentioned bigger magnitude shocks.
Yeah,
happening
a
on
number of
bosses
the
and things
skills
like
have
that.
a bunch of shock effect on it.
So effectively, if a skill is supposed to be for shocking, then that skill will have magnitude on it, because the idea is that, like, you know, we really want to make sure that, you know, it actually works. But so that kind of stuff. It's the same with the fire skills that are intended for burning as well. Like if something's intended for burning, it's going to have some kind of duration or something like that. So it's like you want to use that one, then you want to switch to something else while that's burning away and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because I always want to do that sort of thing, but you feel a bit silly because, like,
it's just not enough. It just wasn't doing enough.
Yeah, you should just like use your main skill instead.
Yeah,
You're wasting
exactly.
time.
But you know, like, even like, once again, you wrap back in the support changes where it's like, okay, like, why would I want to use this other mechanic when I can't do this as fast, or I can't do it as powerful as I could have been doing on something else that I've all in on. Like, it's like that as well was contributing. It's like the whole lot was just all, you know, a bit of a mess in that way.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Ignite thing. I did want to clarify because I saw some questions about it in the chat. It builds up now. So, like, if you don't Ignite, you get 50% of the Ignite, and then the next failed Ignite will...
It's called flammability, since we no longer have the curse.
Right.
And as you build up more flammability on an enemy, the probability of an ignite occurring goes higher and higher and higher, and once the flammability is full, the ignite is deterministic. So if you miss an ignite, you at least contribute towards the next ignite being more likely, and eventually it is inevitable.
But one of the other amazing things we got, which was huge from our perspective, is that the way that ground effects work now for the fire is that it has to build to 100% flammability and then it sets them on fire, which means that if you use a level 1 flame wall, it doesn't ignite shit anymore really easily. So that means we can actually add mechanics that trigger off ignites and do all that sort of stuff without it being a disaster.
You don't have to worry about people being full degenerates with it.
Exactly. So if you're using a high level flame wall, it'll set on fire real quick. But if you real quick. But if you're using a low level one, then it takes forever, so you won't do it anymore.
Yeah, so, it's finally a good solve for that, because that'd be
I know it's been a bit of a disaster for a long time. But so now we can have ignite triggers and more supports around that and that kind of thing. And
let's be more liberal with the power you can give out to that sort of thing. And just the consistency has been a pain for any Ignite builds for a while now. So that's just going to be actually consistent now.
Yeah.
So that's really good news. And I saw that freeze was getting a lot better too. The same idea of like any freeze skill.
So the freeze skill, for that one, we didn't, I believe we didn't change the sort of base freeze balance exactly. It was more that freezing skills just have more freeze going on. And then there was also the other change, which I guess we didn't even cover really, which is that anything that consumes... we'd use the word poise, but basically what that means is that anything that's like harder to apply to a boss, if the mechanic is harder to apply to a boss, then we want to increase the reward for doing it on bosses. So that we've got like an extra damage versus unique monsters, like kind of in quite a lot of places and different skills now.
I just thought of a build.
Once again, if you freeze a boss, it's way harder to freeze than it would be a regular monster.
It just clicked.
I want to make sure that the payoff for
just
that,
clicked in my head.
utilizing it is now much more chunky.
And this
I
was
hope it
substantial
works.
enough that you could actually see it.
I can't wait
Like,
until the
you
patch.
saw the boss
I have to
getting
read
chunked
the
Right.
patch
from those
notes just
shots
so
footage compared to like the regular
Right. But there were
build
other
that
ones
I'm
as well,
thinking
right? Like,
about.
so with the armor break, for example,
hope
it's
it
like
works.
you weren't really incentivized to consume armor break on bosses. So the way we solved that particular one was like, okay, if you're an armor break consumer, rather than consuming the armor break, we're going to upgrade the armor break to a new state, like a new higher, like a level buff that's going to do something different. So yeah, like in the case you're like, in the case of Sunday, you're like upgrading from plus 20% to plus 40%, but then it also refreshes the duration, and then so effectively you're more incentivized to do this, and then because it actually extends it now. So that's like another thing where like let's actually make this combo work. So
The high velocity rounds one is
very good. Yes,
pretty crazy.
It's
so that's
crazy, yeah.
it takes your armor break into, I don't remember the name. Let's say T2
I think
armor
it's
break.
shattered armor.
But
I
it's
think
then for the next however long the duration is, 5% of the I think of it like a kind of infinite impale.
yeah.
5% of the damage dealt by the high velocity rounds is dealt on every single hit for the rest of the duration.
And that means every single pellet of a shotgun is doing a percentage
and
of
every
the
the
high
fragmentation rounds is 10 hits.
Yeah.
And then the consume days on Monk is the exact same thing. So if you do the vaulting days vaulting impact, and then you have, if you have staggering palm up and a temper spell, and you do whirling assault, you're doing all the whirling assault hits, all the projectile hits from staggering palm, all the temper spell hits, each of which are doing a percentage of the vaulting impacts thing on hit, and you just melt things.
So juicy. I saw Days as like instant application too.
Yes. Well, that one was kind of worthless before, so we're like, let's just make it actually work.
This idea of like buffs that get escalated.
no one
into
freaking
tier
used
2 buffs
Days.
is
Like,
a
I've
kind
seen
of
one
I like that
person
one.
make a
And the other
build
funny thing about it
on
that's like less
Days,
obvious
but
but really good from our perspective is that it means you can't repeat the
so
combo
lackluster.
piece immediately either, because once you've upgraded the armor break, it's extended the armor break, which means that you can't just reapply the armor break immediately again either. You have to do something else. So it actually kind of generates that rotation kind of naturally, which is kind of a nice one.
It's chunkier, and it feels like you're not an idiot for doing it.
Right,
which is what it was
exactly.
before. It's like, why would I want to remove their broken armor and make them tankier again? Like, it never really made any sense.
That's a good one.
But it also like prevents some of the weird edge case stuff that is a pain for you guys. So huge improvements there. There's a lot to take in with the supports and skill changes and things like that, but it's like with the amount of supports that are getting added now, and now tiers of supports and lineage supports, do you feel like there is a point where it's a bit much for players to like take in? Like,
well, so I've got something. There's some stuff around this that I would like to improve, which is that okay. So first of all, we did a full pass on recommendeds to like, because there was a lot of terrible recommendeds right now, and so we did like a full pass on that. So basically, what I'm hoping is that now, at least all the recommendeds are not bad. Like I was kind of trying to really answer the question of like, are these three supports the truly best supports that this skill could have, right? And previously we had this extra constraint that kind of screwed this over, which was that because you could only have limit 1, there was always this thing of like, oh, but would you use it on the skill or would you use it on a different skill that we were always kind of working around. Now we can just be like, what are the 3 best options, right? With no other constraints, right? And so that means that like that immediately makes it easier for us. But I think the other issue is that what it was, the whole like, there's too many supports thing, part of it was because since the recommendeds were bad, you kind of had to go to that other screen where you've got all this other stuff. It's like, if you actually rely on the recommendeds to be good, it's like, the fact there's a bunch of supports doesn't kind of matter as much.
I remember we had a ranger with the 10 skills, 50 supports, and it was 2 out of 50 were recommended, I think, for the skills they were on. I'm like,
yeah, it's a bad sign, right?
And so if that's a bad sign, if your in-game ranger is that, it means that if the player who's following the guide that we have given them is not only not being rewarded, they're being punished because we're making them make wrong decisions.
Yeah. So and I'm sure there'll still be a few that are incorrect on there, but like hopefully it should be way better. And the other thing as well as I'd really like to do is I think that we might want to get into starting to recommend more stuff, or maybe even like recommending stuff based on the previous stuff that you've already done.
That's crazy.
Which might be just get a bit complicated, but I'm kind of like, I feel like we maybe should start thinking about that.
That sounds like a nightmare to code.
Maybe, but then it's kind of like, or maybe like if you've got this other skill on your build, then this becomes an option, or there's something like that we might have to do, because I think there's more we can do there. But whatever. For now, it's just at least we're like, here's the 3 best shit.
Oh, but also pick. The names.
I wonder if they're gonna ever incorporate like preset build selection,
making the names more obvious,
and then you select the build that you want to like kind of go for while leveling, and then they recommend the skill gems based on what you selected
I don't know
in the beginning.
I don't know, whatever. Google it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's
Like,
something that doesn't
for
explode
example,
with armor,
caster,
but what's it called?
or
Well,
lightning caster, and then it recommends lightning gems with supportive gems for those spells.
yeah.
That's what it needs to be like.
No, I'm pretty sure it is called that now.
Yeah, good.
But yeah.
I personally would
I
not like
remember-
that
I remember
because
just
like
being
the whole
like,
point of Path of Exile
I'm
is to make your
struggling
own
with
build.
this.
Everyone's unique.
So many people must be struggling with this. Like, I went to build.
Execrate or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it was not the most intuitive of systems for sure. So massive step forward in the UX, the understandability, all of that stuff for sure. I'd say as you play it and as you take it as it comes, it's not overwhelming. It's easy to look at it in this context and go, oh my god, 100 in support and whatever the numbers are, lineage supports, and oh my god, there's
But
so
also,
much going on.
the lineage supports really should be treated more like uniques, so they kind of just go into the big pool of like, stuff that at in game you're kind of like, potentially working on. But I mean, a lot of the lineage support things will end up probably being like, oh, this build guide says, this is the thing to use here, so and here's the boss you need to farm to get it. So I suspect that it obviously ends up a lot of that way with uniques a lot of the time. But
there being so many options for this stuff, actually, kind of like, so there's this thing that ever since kind of the internet, we get we're spoiled, right? We're inherently spoiled for everything. We have the build guides and all that, and there's a lot of fun to that as well. But we obviously lost some of that kind of mystery of your own self-discovery. But I feel like you're almost forcing us back to that age a bit because there's just too much for guide creators to really cover.
I don't know about that. Like, people will still converge on things.
But even if a guide creator creates a build, even if it's quite well optimized, there's usually a few other options.
Well,
that are
ideally,
almost
yeah.
as
I mean,
optimized,
that's part of the fun, right? Like, over time, people come up with more stuff, and ideally, since we're shaking the meta up each league as well, there's still new stuff to find. I mean, that's I think that Path of Exile is actually a game that still has that because of the fact that there's enough stuff and there's enough meta changes to actually cause it to be that there's still cool stuff to find that no one's discovered yet. There's not many games like that really that.
I don't really think I get that as much from Piri 1 anymore, but Piri 2 is getting that.
I guess so. But that really just comes down to the amount of meta shake-up that happens,
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
for sure. So with the sheer amount of supports and things, have you taken a look at how we obtain sockets and get a 6-link and how hard it is to do that and how many we get?
So there have been some adjustments. Actually, this is probably a good time to cover a topic that was probably not obvious in the live stream, which is that we now have a system that allows us to effectively. And I don't have a good way to phrase this really, but it's so I'll take the transmutes as an example, right?
Okay.
So in the live stream, we're it's dropping too many transmutes. We want to instead drop these more powerful ones. The way that actually works is that as you get higher level, it specifically takes some of the juice, if you will, of the transmutes that would have dropped,
Official term.
and then instead drops higher level ones but less often. So the idea is that it's we're getting rid of the crap you don't want and kind of making higher better stuff that you just get less.
So good.
And we're actually we've actually changed over some of the ways that, for example, the way that uncuts now drop as you get into the end game as well works that way. So it's it effectively turns. You're getting less uncuts, but you're getting more of but they're turning instead into higher level ones, and that kind of stuff. So that'll change the game a little bit. Now I don't know if we're going to have that exactly perfectly right in the very first version, but effectively that should mean that you the way it makes that feel is kind of better in terms of getting those upgrades. So I'm pretty sure that I'm not 100% sure of this, but I'm pretty sure that the jewelers have also been changed to use that system instead. For the very top one, I think.
You did the change. I wouldn't know.
That one's been changed. But there's effectively so what you get there is we're still trying to make it so that you get enough of the low level currency that you can still do map crafting, because obviously you don't want to burn the higher level ones on that. But what it does mean is that you won't need to do as many crafts. Just the bulk of the number of crafts you have to do to get decent stuff will be better, and you won't just get as much just the crap that you don't need. Now, I will say that the perfect exalts are not common. They are quite rare, and there's also the drop rates are to an extent that's much larger than previous stuff because of the way that works. Are much more controlled by the level. So at the difference between the eye level 78, 79, 80 is quite large in terms of the percentage that gets converted. So there's a little bit more going on there, and then eye level 81 and 82, from rares and uniques.
Yeah.
That is even more. So you kind of there's a little bit more of that going on with that to make it
you can cube them down, right? As well.
You can down cube. You can't up cube. You can down cube.
If you're SS,
So that's probably not a word we should be using. But you can split them apart.
If you're an SSF and you're not getting enough of the basic stuff to roll waystones, and you happen to be getting some of the higher tier ones, and you don't need them for your gear. downgrade them so they can and split them into 3 so that you can apply them to your maps. You know, like that's the
Interesting. Criminal to split a perfect exalting.
Well, no, you wouldn't do that, obviously.
It's
but-
more about the greater one going into the other ones.
exactly.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So kind of on the topic of like the sockets and the gems and things like that, what's your kind of like expectation for like when a player would have like 1 6 link or even multiple or all 6 links? Is that a thing that you think players have now, especially with the support gem change?
I don't know that we've necessarily changed that for 6 links too much. For the lower ones, like for the 5,
Yeah, we
did add a few more like specific drops around during the campaign and like a few more things like that to kind of just make sure we really wanted to make sure that there's a bit less randomness for that part. For the 6 though, it's still kind of like supposed to be the peak, you know, like top end stuff. So it's really the 5 that we want to kind of make a little bit better as far as like
we
guaranteeing
significantly changed the drop rates of these as well in 0.2.1.
That is a good point, actually. Yes. Like, so if you haven't played since then, it's a bit
which
of a
was a decent time into
Yeah, yeah.
0.2, the 0.2x, you know, series, and the drop rates of these did significantly go up.
Yeah.
Because it is worth mentioning, of course, if you didn't play post 021, then you've probably got a very different experience from what the drops are now compared to what they were before then. Like, we made a pretty big difference there.
Yeah, the changes that you did over the first few weeks and stuff.
Yeah. So
pretty
just worth
major.
mentioning that's still a thing, right? Like we still have those changes too. So if you stop playing after like a week or something in 020, like, you know, the item drop stuff changed quite a bit.
Yeah, and is it kind of the same thing for like level 20 gems and stuff like that? That's something that's
I'm not
meant to
exactly
be kind of like a chase long term.
It is supposed to be chase, right? Like getting those higher stuff. But one thing that you shouldn't get anymore is the just like spam of crap you don't need as far as the uncuts are concerned.
Well, during that 0.2x when we were looking at item drops and everything, I looked into the gems, and it was okay. So obviously we added that Venter's gamble box, and that was dropping them. And I was like, why does it feel like 90% are coming from that? And we looked into it, and then it was like, oh, these are like only dropping from the way the levels had been set up. It was assuming that the tier 16 maps were 83. Like in PoE 1, the highest tier of maps.
That's why they weren't dropping level 20
and
gems.
so the drop levels of level 20 gems were like dropping from only, the corrupted +1 level areas and all of that, and only from
super restricted.
And so I was like, oh my god, this was just a straight up error.
Early
So
access, okay, it's
we went back and we were like, I'm just gonna -3 levels from everything there.
But that was a 02x change, to be clear. That was already fixed.
Nice.
That was a bit of a disaster. But also, inherent items. There was another change. Just speaking of gem levels, it just like clicked in my mind. We've actually, what we've done is taken all the wand, staff, skills, and whatnot, and we've effectively balanced them. Because the idea is you find your, like, let's say your volatile dead wand. You're going to use that for a while. Like if you have good affixes, especially in the campaign. So what we've done is effectively balance them as if they were like 3 levels higher implicitly. And you can now get up to level 20 gems dropping 20 inherent skills, even on unique items, for the ones that did level up from the ground as well. So like those are playing to add to the sorceress and other classes' arsenals. Those are playing more of a role as well, and then you can get with the uniques. You don't get to a point where they all drop level 20. You get to a point where some are 18, some are 19, some are 20, and so you're gonna get this like kind of you want the perfect unique with the perfect level 20 gem with the perfect
plus
that kind of thing going.
Plus exceptional.
Sockets.
So lightning spear level 20.
So but the inherent skills should be a lot more impactful and a lot more meaningful now as well on the wand. And we've added a whole bunch more. I think we ended up adding like 10 or so new wands.
I think it's 8.
Something
I think
like
there's
that.
8 new inherent skills, I think was the number.
Quite cool.
One's pretty
There's
cool.
some quite
What?
cool stuff in there as well.
What did he say?
These have been
immediately
reasonably
got the
effective. Like, people have
unleashed.
actually
Got the
used them.
unleashed
8
stuff
new
finally back
inherent
in.
skills?
For those who were at the OG or the
from back
second
in the day.
Exile Con.
From way back in the day.
So that's been removed off Chronomancer, and a new passive's been added there. And,
Bro, he just slid in
There are
a
bunch of other
huge
season class changes,
buff.
by the way, that we didn't cover.
Oh,
in there,
yeah.
like just balance things and stuff.
All the existing stuff seems to have gotten touched quite a bit.
Yeah.
But especially in like Ranger, Warrior, and Elementals, it seems.
every class got changes.
Yeah.
I think.
Sweet.
I don't think there's one
big
that we
patch
were
notes coming
like some
later
less,
today, then.
sure, some less than others, but I'm pretty sure every single class got a change.
Yeah. So I think
I
it seems
wonder
that we
what.
get
I wonder how the
access to level
Chronomancer
3
got
supports
changed.
pretty quickly. Like it was like Act 3 I found one.
Yeah. So effectively, you get
So
now
those
there's
aren't
effectively a tier per act.
Those are rare. Like
No.
yeah, like so because that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, these tier 3 ones.
Yeah, but bear in mind,
have, like,
we've sort of
different effects
rearranged
for the
everything, right?
different-
Because we've got things that level up. So effectively, in tier 2, you're often getting things that are level ups from tier 1, and so then we can push a couple of those up to tier 3. But then in tier 3, there's some of them as well. So you kind of it's sort of spread out a little bit more evenly, and the extra levels kind of mean there's more interesting upgrades. And one of the other things I just wanted to mention is there was and part of the issue with the supports before is that there was kind of this decision fatigue you had a little bit with them as well, where it's like you didn't want to remove something to add a new thing. Like you'd more likely wanted to just all in on the thing you already picked. So having some level ups like that kind of actually just eases that a little bit, where it's like there's a really obvious upgrade sometimes if I just pick this, and sometimes it's just nice to have that.
Gives you a little break.
Yeah.
I really
cool,
like
more powerful.
the new tier per act. I actually really value the fact that no matter what, when you get to that new act, obviously the interlude is kind of considered one and a bit act, so it's not you're not getting 3 tiers of supports there. But I really like that no matter what, obviously you get to the new act, you start seeing all the new base types, and now you have this new tier of supports, and so every time you get to an act, you're getting just like straight up like, all right, let me just get a bunch of power upgrades straight away.
Yeah, it seemed like there was a much better breakdown in the progression now, in terms of both skills and
Well, like every second act you get new rune tiers. Every second act you'll get new every
as well,
can't remember how that's split. I feel like that's 1, 2, 3, 4 and interlude, and then in
So we
for
didn't
essences.
get
So
Act
there's a
5
lot
and
of, like,
6,
you
but
get to
we
Act
got
4 and you
like
get
the
a new
side
tier, you
acts.
get a whole bunch of
So
new
no
base
more
types, you get
cruel
new
mode,
tier of
which is
essences
a
appearing, and
huge,
so on and so forth. It's
huge
like,
plus to the
just
game,
feels
bro.
really
I
good getting
hated
to a
doing
new act
cruel
and
mode.
getting all the power from it.
We'll
He
talk
did
more on
mention that
specific
every
archetypes
class
then,
has been
but first,
changed a
so
bit,
like on the skill topic, thing that comes up often.
but we can check that
in
out for
earlier
the
questions
patch
I've gotten is,
notes
like,
when they
about
release.
the overimportance of plus levels.
I really
across
wonder how the
board for a lot
Chronomancer
of
has been
things.
changed, because I played the
And also
Chronomancer for a
index and mana
while.
costs on that. Like you guys did a pretty big adjustment on that recently, but how do you feel about where mana costs are at and plus
We
levels in general?
have lowered the exponentiality of mana costs like pretty drastically. Especially level 20 plus is going down a lot, like an absolute huge amount reduction. We're trying to keep the campaign relatively intact. There's another, you were talking about the importance of plus levels. Like one of the reasons for this is that a lot of in-game builds especially ended up using something that was using flat damage and thus scaled strictly from gem levels and not from your weapon's damage itself. And as a result, what a lot of people were using was, oh, what's this magic weapon with just plus whatever the number is, 7 or something.
We've actually changed quite a lot more things to be weapon-based scaling. Around the place.
What's
Obviously
a-
not on the sword.
What's
Like
kind
the
of an
totems.
example about that? Like, what sort of
I
things
mean,
have be
like
changed?
I mean, everything that was flat damage, all those unarmed skills, all the obviously a different with hollow palm gives you damage a different way.
Oh man, I'm ready to look at the
Shockwave
demon
totem,
form changes,
you
the
know, all
Chronomancer
stuff. We're just
changes,
generally going like, nah, we just want weapons to matter.
Yeah.
And
The monk
this whole
changes,
just using a
unarmed
single affixed weapon
changes.
at the end is it's not going to fly. Now that being said, plus gem level still pretty important, and especially in the case of casters. But yeah, the mana costs just got kind of out of control. Manageable in some cases with some builds, with others, nah, not at all. So yeah, that's come down like a lot. I don't have the exact numbers. We were looking at a lot of the models yesterday of what the numbers were changing to, and I was like, look, I'm happy with the 21 plus, but there were some changes towards the later campaign that I was like, no, I don't do those, undo that change. So we're fiddling with the numbers a little bit so that the intent was to obviously have it so that when we post the patch notes, we have something that's relatively correct. But of course, we like to tweak these things all the way through to the end based on testing. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, 20 plus in particular, way down.
Cool. Great.
It got out of control, like actually out of control.
But I know that conversely, you do want mana to be a thing that you actually interact with. So where do you kind of want mana to be on a build by build basis? Like, what's the expected kind of like player solve? Or
well, and as you can see from something like the new keystone we added for leech applying to elemental, like ideally, especially right side of tree, you can spec into some leech. You got your monk, you got your ranger kind of thing. Ideally, being able to just solve your mana problem with leech almost entirely.
Nice.
You know, you have obviously attackers in general are meant to have cheaper costs and do have cheaper costs. It is something an int character is supposed to have to deal with. to at least some degree, and I'd say that is relatively the case most of the time, especially when you start to get gem levels. It's just part of that puzzle for those characters, and that is intended. Now, it was to extreme, obviously, so that's come down, but it is still, you can't just get away with not investing into it at all. I generally, when I try and play on live, try and play the thing people will play in the least. So that I'm most equipped to
you
be able
probably
to deal
played the
with the rebuilds of
Chronomancer
it. So
then.
I just played a sorceress for the last league. I actually enjoyed the solving the mana thing, but yes, then once you have your plus, I can't remember all the values, 6 on your wand and 3 on your amulet and all of that stuff, you're just like, oh my, this is insane. And then certain skills just become completely non-viable, and all of a sudden the triggers are just like, goodbye all your mana. And then you have all that, and I was like, I had mana on every single slot, mana regen on every single slot. I had probably a third of my tree in mana, and like my damage wasn't a problem, but I was like, okay, this is just going too far. And like and I'm still doing far less damage than whatever some other build that's had to not care about it in the slightest. So
Yeah.
Missed the mark for sure on that one, but it should be a pretty drastic course correction on that front now. Yeah,
I like when you actively suffer in game for a smart. Good changes come out of it.
Well, the trade suffering got to a point where it's like, nah, this needs to stop. It got so much worse last league for me. I was like, seriously, just like, I'm so done with the AFK. Just please, can more of you be at your computer? And then it's like, well, we have this plan, we have this system. Let's just bloody get it done, so that we don't have to deal with this.
Yeah, the trade system's going to be really good.
But
let's talk about trade then. It's been a long time coming, much asked for. It feels like we don't have a thing to ask for now. Like, I don't know. I feel a sense of loss almost.
For now,
we'll find out.
But
Every trade system eventually becomes a problem somehow. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, obviously the intention was to try and fix all the problems that people currently have. This has been a big thorn in our side for a long time as far as issues are concerned. So I'm glad we've finally got something that we're kind of happy with. I'm really hoping it's going to turn out well. Obviously, one of the things you just can't really test. Because you can do every theory that you want, but when you actually
needs to be real.
Economy needs to be real for it to actually make sense. So yeah.
And I have been thinking about it nonstop since you've told me that the trade was happening, because it seems like it can have so many follow-on effects. Like, for one, all of a sudden, the amount of available items to purchase is multiplied by a huge amount, like times 4 for the amount of offline players that are now available at least. And then I'm going to list items that I wouldn't have listed before because I couldn't be bothered leaving the map. So that's doubles it again. Like, what's 10, 20 times more items available to players? Like, that's a big thing.
It is, and that's part of the reason why we need the gold costs to kind of offset that, because that will potentially drive down prices in some cases. So you need something that's kind of a barrier so that people aren't like buying things too easily. But at the same time, what I'll say about this is that, so the gold costs are there for that. One of the other big, really important things with the gold costs is it means that it doesn't screw your progression up too much as you're going through the game. So effectively, you've still, as you're first, going through your first experience, the prices have a bit of a floor, so that, like when you're in like Act 3 or something, like, yeah, you can afford stuff, but you can't necessarily just buy a whole set of gear like out of nowhere, that kind of thing. So that's kind of important. And then the other thing as well is it stops any kind of well, maybe not completely stops, but the hope is that it'll stop botting of like high frequency trading, that kind of thing, because that in order to be able to flip items you would need to run maps to actually get gold, right? Because you can't get any other way. So effectively what that means is that you can it's going to prevent that kind of thing from being an issue too. So the hope is that this should be a situation where we don't get like catastrophic hyperinflation or something annoying like that. And if we can achieve that, that'll be really good. We did pitch the gold prices on the high end to start with, because we're a bit afraid. If it turns out everything's fine, we can lower them down a little bit, but they'll be a little bit high to start, just because we're a bit afraid, and we don't really want to have to jack them up after they when they were low. So
you said this that they were pitched on the high end, but then when I asked you about how much gold it actually costs to buy something, like what amount of gold does it cost in terms of time or maps?
The discussion was that buying a rare should cost you about 1 map worth of gold.
That's like, seems like nothing to me. That doesn't seem that high. Like,
I mean, you know, like it's
You
enough
end
to.
up with a lot of gold.
It's a lot for a botter, but it's
Yeah, well,
not
exactly,
much for
right? It's a
player,
lot for a
right?
botter. That's
That
the thing, yeah.
sounds perfect.
A little bit
like-
earlier in the game, this a little bit different because you want to make
Yeah.
sure that you know you're not screwing with the progression too much. So you know, it has to be a little bit adjusted. But effectively, yeah, that's kind of the goal. Just to it's enough of a barrier to stop the flips, basically, because you know you still actually.
Like
playing.
that sounds low enough that the currency cost of the items is more likely to be a.
Well, I
bottleneck
mean
than
that is the
gold.
part that the players receive, so you'd want that to be
Yeah.
something that matters. But yeah, like as I said, the floor shouldn't be too bad. But it's gonna be very interesting to see how it develops. Like I honestly have no idea really. Like I don't know whether the prices will be lower or higher on this system versus the old one. Like I actually don't know whether that's what's going to end up happening there. Like I've got theories, but it's like there's counterexamples too. Like it's very interesting to sort of to think about that.
So yeah, normally you have this effect where like prices bottom out for like usable, decent to bad items.
Mm-hmm.
Like they go down to 1 alc. But the problem is then at the same time people don't want to make those trades, so
Right.
their minimum price climbs.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it
yeah.
goes to like 5x or 5c or whatever. It was
Right,
like the
right.
minimum that they would even leave a map for.
Yeah, yeah.
So that kind of created a floor before.
Yeah. But then
that
on the other
floor is
hand,
kind of gone now.
On the other hand, if you're just filling up all your stash with a bunch of crap, like you know, that's like as a seller,
Yeah.
you don't necessarily want to do that either. So you know, like you've got that element going on.
And this is something I love about this system is that it's going to give you a very real feedback of how things are selling because you're going to
Exactly.
get in real time those.
Yep, a bunch of people are going to turn up in your
sales.
hideout. If you underprice something, a bunch of people are going to turn up instantly. They're going to be there.
So this is
snap up
my
the deals.
favorite when
Yeah,
when we talked. You told me about
Yo,
this.
my
once.
hideout's about to be a
So
party, bro.
people-
I'm about to be
people click
selling
it,
some
they
stupid
get
shit.
transported to your
Yep,
hideout.
Having everyone
the
join my
location
hideout
of
trying to
the
buy it.
NPC with the box open with the item highlighted.
Yep.
So like you can't like troll people by like putting the NPC somewhere far away from the entrance or something like that, which should be otherwise an issue.
But like you get like really popular items and you got an active shop. You can have like 20 people in your hideout.
Yeah, you can.
Because
So we actually
feels so popular.
So we actually had to do a thing where effectively there's only 24 slots for people who aren't your friends or party members. So effectively,
So can't take all
that
your
means that there are some extra slots that are dedicated so that you can't like someone can't like stop you from being able to map or something just because you had a popular item.
That would've
people
been
are-
funny.
People looking at. So yeah, we pre-thought of that one at least. Like I am sure that there will be other random trolls that people will discover.
Bro, there's gonna be a person who-
But okay, but one we did
who's
think
gonna
of
put
immediately,
the
of course, that was
hideout
really
trader
obvious, is, like once you
in the
set a price
middle
on an item, put it in your stash, there is a
of like
cooldown
all
on being able to take it out again.
Yeah.
Just to give people a chance.
like boxes
to
or
get
something.
can't
They're
be
gonna
sitting
like
there
guard them,
oh my god, too many people
secure them so
joining.
people
Yeah,
We're
can't
gonna
even
do it again.
It has to be
interact.
put in.
You're done.
And I think it's even got a
Put,
thing
like, a
where it refreshes
divine
the
orb or
cooldown when someone
something.
joins. So
Be worth,
that's the
like,
kind of thing you
one
need to be thinking about. So
Yeah.
once
orb
again,
of
I'm sure there'll be
transmutation or
exploits
some
or like
shit.
stupid shit around this that people work out. Like, but you know, we at least thought of the really obvious ones.
It's going to be a really like physical, tangible way to like learn the.
I'm gonna
price of
hide my
things, like, 'cause you
merchant,
put a bunch of
so
stuff
people
there,
have
no
to
one can
find
buy
them.
it.
Yep.
If there's a lot of people standing in your hideout, you know you're probably doing things right.
Right, right.
But yes, no change of none of that
And the bait and switch,
repricing.
the bait and switch will
repricing,
be,
yes.
is gone, right? Because like
Oh.
when you put the item in and you price it, you are committing to that price,
Never-
right? Like you must sell,
Yes.
you must sell for that. Someone's going to buy that thing, right?
Never again am I going to message someone and be like, I want to buy it, and then they raise it by 5c. And
Right.
I still want to buy it.
But yes,
5c again.
On the other
Still
hand,
want to buy it.
on the other hand, you have to actually be careful, right? Like you could accidentally sell something for real cheap, and nothing's. There's no.
It's a great way to
I
learn.
know it is, right? It is.
It's a good way to learn.
Yeah, yeah.
It's cool.
So that
Damn, bro.
It's almost like a bigger fear for doing this, apart from the item acquisition part, which is
Mm-hmm.
like the economic side of things, was the losing the player interaction side
Right.
of things. That was often mentioned,
Yep, yep,
memed
yep.
about a little bit. But funnily enough, this is actually increasing it more than messaging
yes,
people.
Yes.
Because they're coming to your hideout, like there's going to be that
And
kind
they
of
get
like
to
presence of
they get to
people.
check out your kind of like garage sale that you got going on.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, that's
It's almost
another
like putting
thing,
display
bro. Like
cases there.
people are gonna be
exactly,
coming
right?
to your
Cool
hideout
decos
to buy
and-
stuff. So like
Yeah,
hideouts now are
so-
more important to
We're
make
adding
them
a.
look
We're going to be
nice.
adding a new hideout decoration.
In theory,
that's a,
now you want to buy
effectively
more
a set of
hideouts.
security
So
guards.
Yeah,
And
essentially, it's
people
like
in your
a side
party,
effect
They'll let you through.
where they're gonna
and
buy
people
more
join your
hideouts.
party,
Yeah,
they want-
yeah,
So
it's
you
like
can
a
have a little.
And then-
You can have a little
Yes.
trading.
Yeah, you can have the
your
VIP
trading
area of a
section.
hideout. The VIP area where you know only the people with some
That's
gonna be
class.
funny.
Only people with class are allowed.
So
in
it's
there.
a buff to hideouts.
So you can sit behind your security, just
Yeah,
watching
yeah.
all of them.
There's so much fun stuff you can do with this. I love it. But yeah, never before would I've like looked through a seller's like other listings But now, like, yeah, a lot of time I'm just gonna go there and buy the highlighted item. But
Well, like,
I'm
if they were
curious,
silly
what's
enough to
that?
sell it for that cheap, what about their
What
other
are
items?
their other
But also,
items?
but even stuff like
buy,
the
5 things.
even stuff like you can see the tab names on the other people, right? I'm pretty sure you can.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
tab-
so you're like getting the nice
Oh, no.
organized organization and like colors scheming and everything, right? So that people can, you know,
people's ASCII art.
yeah. So that'll be a nice one too.
No, I can't wait to look at all the phallus tabs and find out.
Jeez. Okay.
what
No,
items
I think because I think we have to add a reporting system for it. Unfortunately.
Yes, probably should.
Yeah.
I'm also just excited to log in, just to have that. You wake up in the morning, you're like,
What have I got? What did I get?
Before work, go run to your computer,
what
just
currency
quickly
did I
log in,
get while I
and,
was
then you
asleep?
get nothing, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, the idea of even just like popping into your friends lists.
Yeah.
Like hideouts
set it
are
up.
doing it too. Like just browsing what cool items they got.
Yeah.
It's like far more like physically a thing that you can do
Mm-hmm,
now. It's like, oh, it's really
Yeah,
exciting.
the trading system is
But yeah,
probably
there's so much
the
unknown
biggest
variables there, like,
addition to
what
the
is this gonna
patch,
do
in my
to the
opinion.
economy and the item acquisition process.
well,
Like,
yes,
Thankfully-
the skill
Go back
system is
now.
good. And the ag,
Well, I mean, thankfully though,
Abyss
we are in
League
the
and all
sort of
that,
early
but
access
the
economy,
trading
right? So even though
system
all the stuff will be kept,
is
it will be separated from the eventual
a
economy we
Path
get for
of
release.
Exile in
And
a
also,
whole
thankfully, we get to test it on
big
PoE2
addition
before we
to
look
the
at putting it
whole
into PoE1. So we get a
game,
chance to
both
oh,
Path of
someone's
Exile
calling me,
2
that's not
and
good.
1.
Before we get a chance to before we have to commit to that for PoE1 and like
That is
so we can get the balance right, we can
huge,
get all the details right. But like I am
huge
almost
thing.
certain that it'll have to go into PoE1. Like there's no way people won't.
Oh, that's good to hear.
It'll have to go, but
No,
but
it
at least
will.
we'll get a chance to kind of assess the like how the economy shakes out and kind of make some adjustments if we need to before we have to worry about that.
Looks like there's some extra chat questions about this. So one is a concern about bots sniping instantly with the system. I mean, that's the point, right? Is like,
I mean, ultimately that.
well,
I mean, I wouldn't say it's the point, but ultimately, yes, it's a thing. But then it already is kind of a thing. Like, there's already stuff that
I don't
honestly
know
goes on with there.
that
So
really changes too much,
yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
yeah.
Because we were talking last night, I think, a fair bit about arbitrage and
Right.
how this kind of stuff plays out.
Yeah,
The gold is a bit of a deterrent.
The gold is the
yes.
deterrent,
It's-
right? It'll stop the bots ideally.
To some degree, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, you can only snipe so many items, but you got to put the actual hours in to
Right.
be able to do that. And
Yep.
often those sorts of bots kind of profit off low margin trades, and
Right.
low margin trades delete your gold. So
Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
And
So there's less incentive to flip.
another interesting note that came up in our earlier discussions about this, it sounded like you didn't really need to make gold costs really high for rare items, because I was like, oh, well, tier 1 uniques like cost 1 billion gold. I was like, apparently not.
No, not really, because by the time you get to the high, like the top end of things, then that stuff is already the most expensive stuff. You don't really need to have the inflation protect, like that kind of like the descent of prices that you get that'll happen up there. So you kind of in the end the prices for uniques they don't have to be that extreme.
Yeah.
But what the thing to note though is that the prices are a multiplier per level of what the shop prices are. So we do actually have shop prices for all the uniques now. So if you sell uniques to the vendor, you actually get more gold now than you did before. Just as a side note,
There's going to be some kind of exploration of which gold's like not worth trading but worth a lot of gold. A bit like the dust in PoE1, I imagine.
maybe.
Yeah, it's also worth noting that the this tab only sells stuff not in the currency exchange.
Yes.
Right. So you can't sell a chaos orb in there.
Would just be awkward
Yeah,
to do. I
yeah,
think,
exactly.
anyway.
Well,
Currency exchange is for fungible, stackables, you know, stuff that isn't
Okay.
modular.
That makes sense.
And then the rest goes in here. So it should be that every single other tradable item is in here.
So we had the kind of discussion in the past about like whether maps would get somehow made to work with the previous system, but now obviously that can just be done through this, right? Like those sorts of items that are a little bit variable but might otherwise be considered a kind of currency can go there. So if this goes well, do you plan to remove like old systems of trade or anything like that?
I don't think we can, because fundamentally, you know, like we have sold premium stash tabs. They had the functionality they had. Removing the old system,
that would be bad.
People bought stuff. We can't delete what they paid for.
And did you mention in the reveal that you can convert them over?
Yeah, we did. So you can convert your existing tabs. If you bought them for the purposes of this, then converting them over is obviously the right thing to do. That's a thing we wanted to make sure.
A lot of those long-term PoE1 players have a seemingly infinite amount of premium tabs, largely for this reason, right? So it certainly wouldn't be right to all of a sudden be like, nah, you don't get to use any of that anymore. You can fully just convert them, and that is why it's also just as important to work in PoE1, because your micros are shared, right? You're not
So there will be a little bit of a time there where if you convert them, of course, the PoE1 doesn't have this tab type, so they won't show up, which is a bit annoying. But once it gets added to PoE1, then they'll work.
Ah, yeah, right.
Yeah.
We'll try to make sure that doesn't take too long.
Yeah.
There's the question of, will functionality of the trade site be in-game in some capacity?
So that's something that we really want, and we even had a prototype of this.
I saw it.
Yeah. So it's a thing that we are working on, but unfortunately didn't quite make it for 030. There's some stuff we
How
want to
do
do.
you convert
I
them?
am personally
Is it on the website? I'm pretty sure it's on the website.
Because the typing,
Web is
just web stuff is sort of designed for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when you click the button on the website, your character in game still moves. So if that's a thing. But on the other hand, for discoverability for new players and that kind of stuff, it is good
It's
to have
huge
something
for
in game.
console.
And here's the thing. I reckon for console, it's still better to use the website because you can use your phone and you can search for stuff on your phone.
I suspect
like
a little
console controller, typing text with a console controller is just fundamentally crap, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm a console player.
Often you don't have to type anything in text in these searches.
It's true. But look, we are going to do it. It's just that it isn't quite
There's
done.
a bit of each to their own as well.
Sure.
A lot of people are very excited about the idea of an in-game one, and
It is a feature that we
it's in
will do.
progress.
It is a feature we will do. We just haven't.
it's in progress and it's close.
Yeah.
It seems wild to me that I can push a button on my phone and my character goes to someone else's hideout.
Yeah, well, the magic of the internet, I guess.
I'm getting old, I guess. You mentioned that there's more things on the horizon that you would potentially want to do with this as well, like in-game features of things.
I mean, obviously the first question people will have about once you've got in-game trade searching, when's Awaken Trade coming, that kind of thing. I mean, look, maybe one day, it certainly opens the door to it. I wouldn't want to say that it's not going to happen. There's stuff that we could do there, but there's a lot of UI issues to sort out. There's quite a lot going on with that. It's kind of one of those things that I'd look at a bit later. But yes, obviously something people want.
It's all under consideration though, which is
for sure
very cool and very quite a pleasant surprise.
Well, the goal, it is nice to get to the point of not feeling like to be, I'm sure it's only for some players or whatever, not feeling like you have to use third-party applications and stuff like that. It can, not to say Awaken Trade is dodgy, but there are some that obviously are a little bit suspect. People are a bit like, no, I shouldn't have to do this. I don't want to do this. It gets you can get a bit scared about it, and it can be a little bit like, especially when all of a sudden they're asking you to provide information you shouldn't have to be providing them, and that kind of stuff. So getting away from all of that, having it be all nice, secure, done by us and everything is the ideal goal. But one step at a time. This is a big step, but we'll see what's next after we test this out, let an economy test it for us, get it to PoE1, all that kind of stuff, and then we'll take it. As I said, every trade system reveals its problems. Maybe that's just the next problem. So
yeah.
See.
Another question here is when you click secure item or buy item on the site and it's going to take you to the hideout, is that locked in and other people can't then click it? Or
no, they
is it a race
it
to the
is
NPC?
Technically a race, yes. We'll see how that goes. I think it should be fine. But that is just worth understanding.
That's going to be interesting for those mega deals and see 10 people loading in all at once trying to grab it. Who can click the fastest? Who loads faster?
Thankfully, the loading time should be a lot better.
Yeah.
In this version than they were in the past. We're doing a bunch of engine changes, which I'm hoping is going to go well. Obviously, when you make changes, there can be
worth bringing up stability and performance.
Yeah. So, we've done a pretty big amount of rewrites to the engine this version.
Really?
We've the goal is obviously making the game faster. It should be quite a lot faster in terms of frame rate. There's still some kind of one of the load times is definitely a lot faster. There's still some concerns around shader pop-in type issues, which we're kind of working on at the moment. But ultimately, it should be better, and we've also unlocked a lot more optimization opportunities for the future. So things should be better in this regard, I am hoping, especially for consoles, where we've seen a pretty good performance uplift. And things are looking pretty good, but still more to do. But that's definitely something that we're taking really seriously.
Performance,
and one of the other things that
for consoles,
I'm really hoping we don't run into is another stupid
shout out
operating system
consoles
bug like we've been having with the damn freezers, right? We've made changes that I think will work around those, but fundamentally the Windows 11 scheduler is completely broken. Ultimately we just kind of have to do what we can there.
How fun for you.
Yeah, I know it's very annoying, but that's the just the life, unfortunately, of a game developer
to
deal with that. But hopefully the full OS freezes will, like, we basically managed to fix them for almost everybody, but they were still happening to a few people. So I'm pretty sure we should be sorted out now.
Yeah, and the EU servers and things like that have been
right. So that's the other thing, of course,
hammered.
is all the DDoSing problems and everything like that. So yes, that's been a huge focus of our server guys. They've been working pretty much non-stop on trying to deal with that problem. So effectively, what we've done is we've actually retired some server hosts that just weren't able to be sorted out. We've got a lot more anti-DDoS protection stuff going on. We've been working on that. Like, it's been a huge amount of work to get it to the point, but effectively,
I don't understand
as
why
we go into
people
this free weekend we're
DDoS.
about
Like,
to do,
it's huge.
we
Things like
made sure
this.
that every single server provider that we have is armored up, that we've got things like in place for it. It does mean that there's a couple of locations that we couldn't find an adequate solution for that had to get cut, but we've tried to make sure there's other options with just almost as low latency nearby, and overall things should just be significantly improved over what we've had in the past. So yeah, like it's really sucked that the previous launches have been so decimated by this stuff. So I'm hoping that it will be a big improvement for that stuff.
You feeling nervous for that free weekend?
Certainly it's a concern. I mean, so one of the big things we've been doing recently is we've been DDoSing ourselves to test that the actual anti-DDoS stuff is working. We never did that in the past. We just kind of relied
Imagine
on
that, like
on
DDoSing yourself.
solutions people had. But now we're like, okay, when we do this type of DDoS against ourselves, like this one doesn't.
Some of my
work, this one
friends
does,
do when
that
they
kind
play
of thing.
Rainbow
So,
Six.
that's been a
Rainbow
thing.
Six Siege, they DDoS themselves.
It should be fine now. But like, free weekend, there's a lot of players we could potentially be getting here. We need to make sure that we're up for the challenge. So but then at the same time, like, part of the reason to have a free weekend in the first place is in fact to test that all that stuff is good. So I'm hoping it'll be all right.
Speaking of new players, how do players onboard with like the new trade stuff? Like, is that introduced in some way that helps them figure it out? Because it was never really the case that people were explained how to trade.
To be honest, we haven't really had like any time for tutorialization and this stuff. So
is it
we'll have
something
to
you want to
see.
do?
Honestly, I have to see how it goes. Like we'll have to see for that. But yeah, like, it's, to be honest, right now we don't even have a sprint tutorial in. Like, it's been, we probably need to get that in there at some point. But the focus right now is like get the features working, get them good, like get the people testing them, and then we'll get we'll make sure that we've got the onboarding for that stuff.
We'll circle back into a big. What do we need to tutorialize again?
Maybe like a zombie chase you at the start of the game or something.
I don't know. I have to think about that. See, the harsh reality of tutorialization is unless you put a big red wall in front of the player and say, no, you have to learn this.
Which you've literally
then they literally won't. So
I always appreciated the like kind of lighter tutorialization.
I do as well,
approach
but
of
sometimes like
PvE
something that's so
you gotta
important.
have certain-
Tutorializing the trade system will be a little bit more intuitive and easy, at least for the sake of purchasing. Once we have an in-game
I
searcher.
would have even said to do it before because didn't. It's like you go to this site and do this.
But also, if the tutorial tells you to go buy a microtransaction, it's probably not the best thing in the world.
But for purchasing, right? Like, I mean, ultimately, once we've got the in-game version, it's way more easier to tutorialize that, because then you can be like, look, here's the place where that is. So.
Okay, that makes sense. Kind of on the economy thing, I can't stop thinking about it. So another thing is, in PoE2 at the moment in particular, there's been some pretty wild exchange rates of currencies and inflation and things like that. I believe the current price of apologies is a little bit off. It's a bit hard to track down exactly. It's like 2,000 exalts to a divine.
Right.
That's quite a number. Like,
yeah, I mean, like, part of the, when we were looking at this, actually, one of the reasons why we did the whole like higher tier currency thing was partly to add stuff in the middle between divine and exalt, but also like absorbing some of those exalts into other things by having the higher tier ones be dropping and that kind of stuff. Like, there was a little bit of thinking around that, but also the implication of this is that we're not syncing enough exalts. So there's some that we'd have to think about whether or not we want to start doing some more syncs for that. But I'd say that's probably the main thing, is like that exalt exchange rate would be the...
I'm curious from your perspective, like, when do you look at something like this and consider it an issue, and why? And
I think it was up to 969 before, and then we were like, this is... I specifically remember the screenshot that was sent to me of the exchange rate, and I was like, oh okay, this is bad.
I also wonder whether it's just that the divines, people are wanting to value those more, like they're sinking more of those into uniques, maybe.
I was surprised that they ended up being valued as much as they were in PoE2 because of like the way vials work, but we're talking about this and you're saying that like, well, the idea is maybe at the highest end you do sink a bunch of divines in case you land a socket, and now you've got exceptional items too. Like maybe divines become even more valuable.
Yeah.
I don't know that's a problem, but the other thing of like exalts being devalued maybe is a problem. But I don't know. I'm curious.
I expect exalts will be not that valuable still, and that's fine because ideally the more common, especially in-game high trade rate, will be the higher tier ones.
There actually will be a slightly more sync for exalt in the way the map mods work now, because you've actually got a reason to go up to 6 mods every time.
Yeah,
so that'll sync a few more exalts that way. So I guess we'll see how that works out too.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, so when you look at the umbrella, you see 969, and you're like, that's a problem. I'm curious, like, what from your perspective is the problem with that? I'm curious what the delineation is between something just being a market phenomena. And it's like, that's the way it is.
Your average player, like, it's a bit different when it's a mirror. And it's hard to explain why necessarily, but I guess, most people can probably relate with that. But when you all of a sudden are seeing something not like over 900, you're like, every now exalt you find is just nothing. Like it's nothing. It's you. There is a threshold. I don't know where that exact threshold is, and the threshold will be different for each person. But like at least if you to be able to quantify it as like I've found 1% of a divine every time you find an exalt, assuming 100-to-1 ratio. Yeah. You still at least that feels like something.
Feels like something, you're right.
And now you're like, okay, I'm getting 0.1, and now it's 0.05. You're like, what are we talking about here? We're just in a point where like every exalt is, you're getting into filter it out territory kind of thing at that point, which is not great just because the value is so. I mean, you're talking about it being like worth a Reign of Chaos card from PoE 1 kind of thing.
The higher tier ones. I mean, look, I'm really interested to see what the trading dynamics end up with the higher tier ones, like where the stuff starts to get priced in greater exalts or something like that.
I'm curious.
I have no idea honestly what will happen, but we'll see.
There's not a set currency to price your items in. Like, what are they going to be? Like, all different things? Or
it'll normalize into something. There'll be a thing that everyone knows to do.
I'm curious about like, so let's say you go to someone's hideout to buy an item. Obviously, you'll know the price of that item, so you can visit your exchange in preparation to like get the correct currency to buy that item. But if you like see other items in their thing, can you like, I don't know, use the other person's exchange or exchange currency? Do you have to go back to your hideout and exchange? It's just
how does that work? I would
an
think
awkwardness.
Exchange probably would let you. I think that will work.
It'd be cool if you
use
could
the currency exchange in the other person's hideout. It's the same NPC, right?
That would.
I actually genuinely don't remember if you can use other people's ones, but there's no reason you shouldn't be able to.
Yeah, we can make that work.
I feel like that'd be good if not. So
we can make it work.
I don't know if I've ever even tried to do that.
Just as you can. Okay, good.
Okay, if you can, you can. I genuinely am like, have I ever actually tried to do that? I feel like I just default go back to my hideout.
Yeah. Here's my advice to sellers then is to put your currency exchange person next to your vendor so that you can get a few extra impulse buys.
Oh, they're the same person.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
we moved it to her. Yeah.
And are they both the long neck boy? Or wait,
no.
That's a different thing.
No, that's a different thing. It's Ange, the person from King's March.
It was one of the MTXs that you can get the long neck boy to.
Yes, that's a different thing.
I was enjoying that people were like calling it a good doggo. Such strange.
That's fully separate.
Okay.
This is Ange. You find her in King's March in Act 4. And you get, if you haven't got a hideout, you get a quest to go get a hideout, and then once you claim it, so you don't have to get your hideout in the in-game now, or from buying a micro, I guess. And now you get it in Act 4, she's there straight away, you can immediately engage with both systems. So before we had like currency exchange on all the NPCs and all the towns. I actually think we might have kept it there just on random NPCs in the interlude and stuff, just so that you don't have to go to your hideout every time. I'll have to check in on whether or not we did that, but eventually, Ange will just handle all of it.
So this means you don't gain access to like item trading until the same time as you would gain access to the currency
for the first playthrough in the league, yes.
Yep.
Okay. But the subsequent playthroughs you can.
Yeah, that makes sense. Great stuff. Something I wanted to bring
That's
up
actually not true, by the way. Subsequent is not the case.
Oh, really?
Because otherwise you have an advantage over new players. Technically,
no, but subsequent in the same league.
In the same league, yeah. Per league, you have to.
Like
you have to, or you have to have fair ground with new players and existing. You have to unlock it at the same point in time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, within the same league, completely fine. Yes.
All right. Something that I wanted to bring up as well was build diversity. That's our thing. We talked a lot about like how there's a lot of buffs for the other archetype stuff, so that's obviously going to be helped by that. But I'm curious, like, your thoughts on like the point if lightning spear is 46% of the top 1,500 players. I think
Oh
it was,
yeah,
or
here we go.
15,000
Lightning
players,
spear.
or 75,000 or something, whatever the number is for PoE Ninja. So 46% is pretty big. I don't know that we've ever gotten that high. Maybe with
That was
Spectral Throne?
Legion League
insane.
Cyclone.
Cyclone. Maybe Spectral Throne.
51%, I think, of Cyclone Slayers.
Yeah, okay.
Or something like that, yeah.
It was like, so maybe.
So
maybe
we're not
one or
quite
two-
there.
One or two other times. Not quite there.
Shout out
Obviously,
Cyclone.
It's just as bad.
Cyclone's
To be
still
fair,
the number
that's-
one skill
I'm only
in Path
counting
of
one
Exile
class there,
history.
actually. Lightning Spear is across many classes. So,
Oh,
maybe
yeah,
it
yeah.
is the worst it's ever been.
Because that's just the skill gem itself.
Across both games, yes, true.
Yes.
True. Well, either way, it's bad.
So yeah, I'm curious. Like, at what point do you feel that's like a problem?
It's obviously a problem
For
now.
what duration is that a problem? Yeah, obviously. But like, what's the point at which it does start to feel like a problem for you guys? And when do you want to even like address it in the next league versus in the current league? Because that's obviously a difficult
And
thing
I
to
just
do.
the mid league nerfs, like people say they want them, but like the reality is that
Oh,
we get
they-
crucified for them, absolutely crucified. Like it's
If you get on it
if
fast
you get
enough,
on it, yes, you have to get on it so fast basically to make
you
it
get
okay.
away with it.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you
invested
can find it, but
themselves.
if you don't know about it for 3 days, well, I know it's silly to say how do you not know about it for 3 days. If you like misinterpret the severity of it, for example, and
Right,
everyone
right,
starts doing it, you're like, oh no, it seems kind of fine, and then boom, out of control, and
Yeah.
like it's now been even one full day, you can have a lot of the player base completely pivot. If that happens on a weekend. If certain people are away and busy, especially people in balance, Jonathan or I, and stuff like that, obviously we'll support other people forward. Like you get our staff are playing and all that. So like this stuff does get around and we do learn about it. But like if you slip by even a day, you get to the point where you now have to make an excessively hard decision, which is like make 50% happy or 50% angry, right? And it's like it's lose-lose. And so often, and sometimes you make the wrong decision. It happens. But look, it's less about like there's a number that's wrong, and it's more about like the way we looked at it this time is like look at all of these bad builds. Like why these need to not be this bad. Like you shouldn't be able to make this many mistakes, this many bad decisions, this many wrong decisions.
Except my build. I made a good
Supports,
Chronomancer
passives,
build.
everything, all of that.
Shout out
we
to my
need bring all
Chronomancer
of that
build.
up.
Check it out on my
Now, by
channel,
doing so,
Lugo
you're
HQ.
bringing everything up. You can't just have Lightning Spear go up proportionally to everything. There's no one's gonna swap and play all this other stuff that's now in that kind of same level of balance. So yeah, the outliers have to come down. It just has to. You do it, and in this case, we definitely thought it would be best to some people will say you should have done it in the league.
Yeah.
Maybe they're right. Whatever. We're doing it now. We're bringing down those outliers. So yes, Lightning Spear is nerfed. Let's just rip that band-aid off. And honestly, if you're surprised by that,
Lightning Spear is nerfed.
come on. But like there are an insane amount of increases to bad things, wrong decisions. They all should be brought up in line. There should be a lot more viable options, a lot more good things.
There
A
were
lot
certain
more,
skill gens,
viable
bro,
different
that
classes,
like I looked at
The hard part's gonna be
and I was
that the
just like,
support gen
this is
changes
just a
are
waste.
certainly
coding.
gonna result
That's how
in a
bad
bunch
they
of
were.
new exploits, and that's gonna be real rough because we're gonna have to then make all those hard decisions again of like, do we nerf this, do we not, kind of thing for each of those.
You eventually get to a point of stability, but when you're adding this much and having to change this much, you're going to have a number of things still go wrong, a number of things still be abused, and we will try and
Oh
stay
my
on top
god, I
of
just
them, and
thought
we will
about
try,
another
but,
build,
There'll
bro.
still be some stuff I'm sure we'll have, and hopefully it's not 47%,
Oh,
and hopefully
dude,
that number's
no
less, and over the time you get more stability, more equality in the classes and the balance and the different skills and all of that, and but it's mostly honestly important to not just be like, I want to play a caster, and then you go and later find out that you picked the worst class in the game. And sure, there are still some builds within that.
Oh, I
that
remember
are,
picking the Chronomancer, yo.
You could say competitive to some degree.
That shit was
within some threshold.
it was a
But
journey.
It sucks to learn that like you get to level 65, which for some players may have taken tens of hours, and then you're like, oh, you're telling me I literally picked the worst class that no one's playing, and I could have just been throwing a lightning spear this whole time and doing 5 times more powerful. That is a real terrible feeling to have. And so
Chronomancer.
making it that you don't like, if the worst was only slightly worse than the best, not slightly, so within some margin that you're still at least feeling powerful, you're just not,
I feel like
I do have to say the
then at least
Chronomancer
you
was
don't feel absolutely terrible about it
absolutely,
when someone, but when people are
like,
just like, you
really
made the wrong
strong
choice,
against
like you have to
bosses.
reroll,
because of
"Oh,
the
that's
time freeze.
Like I'm demoralized. How are you supposed to know
Time
that
freeze
at
the
start
boss for
without doing
about
a bunch of
9
research,
seconds.
right? And so yeah, that
And just
hopefully
destroy 'em.
over time, and I'll say this is a huge
When it came to
step towards that,
mapping,
we
the
eliminate
Chronomancer
as
had
much of that
many
just really
many
wrong,
flaws.
bad choices as possible. Make things more obvious and intuitive and all of that, and bring up the floor really. And yeah, keep you don't bring up the floor, not bring up everything, because again, otherwise, what is a 0.1 second boss fight when it's now 0.09 second boss fight? You know what I mean? Like the ceiling has to come down when they're that extreme in particular. So
I wish you guys didn't have to worry about balance so much, but the reality is that unfortunately you do have to get it to a certain point so that you can even assess that whatever changes you're making or new systems matter, that they are good or fun or whatever. You just can't assess that when something's too far out of alignment. So do you think like if something is looking like it's getting to the point of a lightning spear again in the future, that would be a mid-league nerf despite not being like a bug or anything?
You can't necessarily tell because at the point where like it's what
Until
Mark
it's
said
too far
earlier, like
gone.
you look at it and you go like, is this actually that bad? And it's very easy to be wrong, and you don't like by the time 20% of the community is playing it, it's too late to nerf it.
well, it's because they've invested items, they've invested
they've
their
on
wealth,
stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and now
Yeah, I
you
don't-
nerf
It's
it,
like
I don't
you
really-
have to make the call before that point.
To be honest, since this is an early
drive a
access,
portion of those players to then quit by taking away the
Well,
fact
literally
that,
all of
I mean,
them are,
even if it
right?
wasn't
Probably,
early
yeah.
access,
Well,
I
you could
don't
argue
believe
the
in
nerf is in
mid-league.
line such that it's still
nerfs.
competitive and good, but they won't feel.
I do
see it
believe
that
in
way
mid-league
necessarily, right?
buffs,
Like they put all their investment and their
because
wealth of the
mid-league
league into that, and they're
buffs,
taking that away.
all
is
you get is
brutal.
positives.
So it's like who do you
Mid-league
make
nerfs,
quit? And
you
that's
get
it. It's
positives
it's
and
an
negatives.
ultra terrible decision. So, but again, eventually they will taper off, and you won't get that level of
because
extremity.
if you add
appearing that
mid-league
often.
buffs, it gives
Yeah,
players
Because on the flip side, like I
mean,
imagine
everyone went through
opportunities
the same
to
thing.
keep playing the game.
Still happens there
I
as well.
think part of the
Especially
thing though
for
is when we were going through it, there were less.
That's just my
tools for
opinion. I
everyone
mean,
to see
what do you guys think? You know,
the like disparities were.
Yeah.
And so, like, I feel like as more information is there, like, people feel worse about their bad choices than what they previously did.
I can realize just how bad I am.
Yeah, exactly. So it actually, I think, does exacerbate it a little
Quantifiable.
bit. Like we're going through this now in a bit of a different time than what we did initially when we had because like early PoE1 had tons of terrible balance going on all over the place. Like I remember like some of the stuff that was happening. Yeah. So, but yeah, we just can't get away with as much now these days.
The old guaranteed crit flask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
With your 1500
That
crit
restores
multi.
charges on crit.
Right.
Oh
Right.
no.
Yeah.
On leveling, so leveling builds are kind of another topic in general as well. Like, do you guys are you looking a lot at like leveling build diversity within each class or even across classes in some case where some things are strong enough, like Rake Stomping Grounds where spellcasters are doing it? Is there a point where you...
I mean, I want to look at things all through the game, really. Like, I just want the fundamental underlying skills to just be fun. Like, so I'm not really necessarily looking at a skill as, like, this is an in-game skill versus a leveling skill. Like, to me, they need to serve both purposes. And, like, when we're looking at skills, we're like, can the skill to in-game? But, of course, it also has, is it fun in campaign? Like, both of those need to be true. I wouldn't, like, classify one skill or another as fitting into one of those categories.
Yeah, do you kind of, like, aim to have at least a few for each archetype that feel good then, so you're not kind of like feeling like there's only one way to level a certain character?
I mean,
or something like that?
as I said, ideally all the skills feel good. I mean, I know that we need to improve some of them, but that's part of the goal of what we're doing
it's a
here,
tall
right?
order. You know, not always the design makes sense
It's like
early
with
on.
the monk, for
Some
example. You know, lightning, ice, clearly better than the wind physical version, right? And so may make changes to that subcategory. Ice archer, you know, so, and then there's the clunkiness with the poison ranger, and you know, so because most people are leveling as lightning when they are playing archers instead of lightning spear, they're which whatever. They were playing lightning, and the other things, like, sure, there's a couple of things that are still good, but you know, like, there are clear, you know, things that are losing comparatively to the others within each of the classes. And so we focus on a lot of those. We looked at, like, look, these aren't being played, and why. Let's see if we can get them to be played competitively with the things that people are playing on those classes. So yeah, and I mean, things like Sorceress, where you have, you know, at top 15,000, 0 to 0.1% play usage on literally one of 7 classes. Not great. Like, so that gets something way more drastic.
I played a Chronomancer
not
last
just
week,
like
and
bring up cold a bit. It's
not a
kinda
lot
like,
of people
alright,
played the
we need to do
Chronomancer in the
something
beginning of the
crazy
league.
here and just like shift everything and pivot, and now we've got something that's like kind of promoting this multi-elemental, and honestly playing each of the elements is probably still just better anyway. But yeah, now you got the multi-element and combining a lot more and passives and everything. Yeah, like, there's like so much going on there though. It's like there are so many variables changing that it's almost impossible to predict what is even going to happen here though. So we might come out of this and now another class is at 0%, maybe. Then we have a new goal to fix. You know what I mean? Like, but that's not by design. Like, you don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. It's exciting. I don't know what I'm going to play. I'll tell you that. I have no idea. I'm like, I don't know.
I was struggling between the unarmed, the elemental.
Well, I said I'll play the worst class, so I need to know what the worst class is so that I can play it.
What people aren't playing.
Yeah, because I have to work on release day because trying to make sure everything's stable and and fixing anything we can. I get that day to see what's the worst class, and then I'll jump into that just so I can experience it and see how we want to.
That's very good.
It also makes it more challenging. I like it.
You like the arbitrary challenge of play the worst one. Speaking of worst ones, on the topic of like defenses, we had a lot of discussion about armor and how good it is, and it got a pretty hefty buff this time around in terms of it being able to apply to elemental damage through modifiers and nodes on the tree and such, and that looks really, really good. Do you think that there's any other fundamental issues with armor? Because I know you were looking at it as a whole and deciding even if you wanted it to work the way it does.
Well, the thing that people would probably say is the worst part about it is that they take a big hit and they can still take a lot of damage.
Yeah.
But the thing about that is when we look into it, it's still pretty damn good percentage reduction if you look at it. So like I was sort of less confident that was the true issue with it, and that's when we were looking at it, like, well, what is the actual weakness of this thing? That's when we started to look at the elemental part.
Smith of Catava was alleviating that, and it's like, okay, that's probably not acceptable that you have to, in order to mitigate the elemental, get the insane max res, and thus go Smith of Catava. So like, well, hold on, we need to make that not be so mandatory. Let's instead increase the elemental side of it, and that way you're not like feeling obliged to play Smith of Catava to get the insane high max res. That's like, one part of it for sure.
I wouldn't say that we have like another like, there isn't more that we know we can do to armor right now, right? Like it's like we need to see how this plays out and see what happens, and then we'll know whether or not there's still some issues that we need to address.
And obviously we had the issues where like energy shield, like even just running hybrid was crazy with convalescence and use and a bunch of stuff there. So we've had to make some changes around that as well, bringing that back a little bit, buffing the others, and so there's lots of changes around all of this.
Next in the triple.
I still think armor is the worst.
It's a challenging one because it's difficult to make it not just be blue life, and be better life in some cases as well. How do you guys feel about where that is at the moment? I feel like the culprit is recovery. Like energy shield is supposed to be a defense. It is somewhere between a defense and a life ball.
As much as a lot of people might not want to hear it, we're going away from like, look, recharge should be the way you recover energy shield.
I agree.
We need to better embrace that and not have just every other way under the sun to get it back. I can't remember the specifics. The patch notes I'm sure will tell you. But yeah, it's like, anything that's kind of just like overly trivializing having infinite amount of energy shield is certainly the current main issue. So yeah, I mean, that's part of it, but like, again, like the whole weapon swap convalescence thing, which we have made changes around, is also just like, you get the bonuses of convalescence without having to incur the spirit costs while you're doing your DPS kind of thing is not okay, like, at least not from our end, so making changes around that as well. But yeah, I mean, before that it was Grim Feast, and so
oh yeah, Grim Feast was
been a couple of problems, but like ultimately, I'd say they're more equally balanced now, those three defenses, and on average, armors come obviously up, evasions come up, more predictable things, less, and then energy shield, some of the recovery means have come down that are not recharge, and we've added a lot more ways to make recharge better.
Cool, yeah. That's what I want to see.
Just to be clear, it's not.
I want to see what like chunky energy shield pools look like, where you actually have to like recharge in some way or build to recharge.
I like playing that way personally.
Yeah.
Again, I did this league as well.
It can be
I
really
quite enjoy
rewarding. Like when I've played that sort of like Wicked Ward styles and stuff
It's
in
just
the past.
you get into the problem where because especially with the mana thing, you have to put 30% of your tree into mana, and then you have to put so much into not only
Into
increasing
tax,
your energy
yeah.
shield but also into the 2 recharge axes. And you end up like, okay, hold on, I'm putting so many points into this just to be on the same level as something else, or just to feel like I can kind of basically survive. Whereas like other classes are just like, as much as armor has its disadvantages, the warriors are rocking around with double the life of the other your average ranger, and they're pretty beefy for sure, and especially the titans. And then you get your all the smiths with all the resist, and so there is some certainly tanky warriors going on out there for sure. But yeah, doing the elemental thing with that will go a long way, and the deflection with evasion will go a long way. Parry and block being way just predictable. It's huge. You don't have to go like, is that
so
blockable?
nice, that change.
I don't know if that's blockable. No, it wasn't blockable. I'm dead. It's kind
So are
of
they making energy shield
They didn't do that with evasion.
easier
though,
to
like
acquire now?
the guys that slap
they
with statues, for
made it
example,
less
those guys will still hit you as evasion, right? Like
valuable?
guaranteed.
the slams will
change.
still hit you with evasion, yes,
Yeah.
but the deflection applies to everything.
So curious about. So was it the case that you put deflection in? You felt like, okay, we probably don't need to do the evasion thing like we did with block because
There was
we've got
discussion of
deflection.
that, and I can't remember exactly why we decided not to do it in the end.
Well, it was kind of one or the other, and we thought that the deflection being, because both are too strong, you'd have to water them down to some degree, and having one watered down seems bad because then you could have that and have deflection be 20%, and then you're like, what the hell's the point in this? Like, you invest all of that into it and don't really get much. So having to not water them down was the main idea, and thus you get to have both, and you get to have deflection being the thing that is like ultra predictable, and evasion can obviously still be quite strong, but not as with the whole applies to everything thing going on. So I agree, I can see both ways. We landed on this one. We'll see how it works. But yeah, I always agree with the I don't know if I can avoid this or not.
Yeah.
At least deflect, that's great. And with block and parry now, that's also great. So I don't know. We'll just have to see how it plays a little bit though. But I fully see both sides 100%, and I wouldn't say I'm confident that one is necessarily completely perfect over the other.
And good job in advance on solving the spell suppression issue with deflection by tying it to evasion, so that not like I don't have to play my Templar and have a mandatory investment in deflect.
Yeah, we made that a
Appreciate
specific
that.
goal, and we kept getting stuff like
Suppression. Ugh.
it being granted from other. I'm like, no, it must come from evasion. Otherwise, we're just going to have like every single character in the game having to get 100% chance from flat things from sources, and then we're going to have now every single character has their like specific way of getting 100% suppression equivalent.
I kind of wonder if you don't just do that in Period 1 for suppression as well, but that's a topic for another day, I guess.
Yep, different live streams topic.
Different live stream.
Not to say we have any plans there right now, just to calm anyone down before they're like suppression dead. Just hold on. But different live streams topic.
How's your schedule feeling overall? Like, you feel like you will be moving into the next Path of Exile 1 expansion in the 2 months expected, and then having the next PoE2
we're
for
definitely
the end of the year?
going to hit those deadlines. Like, there's no question of that.
Yeah, you guys are.
However,
resolute.
it's certainly it's certainly hard to get to meet them. Like, it's difficult. But it's so much better to commit to the date, and just make sure.
It is. It's been difficult to adapt to this new cycle for sure. We obviously want to do everything we can for every patch and the next patch, and this requires a more parallel work going on and parallel thinking, and to be able to make sure that each game gets the correct time, you need to make sure, okay, if you're working on 030, you got to make sure at some point people are pulled off of it to work on 327, for example, right? That has to happen. Otherwise you don't get enough time. And especially considering after 030 comes out, you've got an amount of time of fixing things and addressing problems, hopefully not too much, but you always have a little bit of that to do. And so all of a sudden that can extend even further. And so yeah, you have to at some point, and it can feel very unintuitive to be like, well, 030 is what the whole team's working on. The team's excited. Everyone's like, yes, we're doing it. We're prepping all the marketing. And it feels weird to then just start pulling people off of the thing that you're kind of working your immediate goal towards and have them working on a future thing. And same with vice versa. You get a little bit of that. And it is a little bit hard to obviously deal with, and we're adapting to it. But we're doing pretty well, and we're on track still for 327. So
it's like 2 really good expansion updates, with the recent Path of Exile 1 doing I think really well, and then this one is huge. I hope that you guys can settle in, and this feels like a reasonable workload soon, because
what isn't right? It isn't this week, I can tell you that.
No, it seems people are going to need a bit of sleep soon. But we'll go down to the bottom of our Q&A doc if we can, and we'll just wrap up with a couple of the last random questions. And if you're watching live, the patch notes are out, so we'll try and get you over to them soon. But there's got a few random questions here. Divination cards coming to Path of Exile 2 soon, or is there like a plan for that, or
no timeline, but they will be coming. Yeah.
All right. Hot swapping between controller, mouse, and keyboard.
Unfortunately, wasn't really. A bunch of work was put into it.
So it sounds like it's getting close.
It's getting closer, but it just unfortunately wasn't finished.
Yeah, fair enough. In chance we get mercenaries in PoE 2. Mercenaries are fun. I like them.
Not anytime soon, I would say.
Yeah,
that's more of a later thing, I would say.
Later thing.
Yeah.
Because they do it's a big thing that's just always going to be there potentially, and that's skewing how you build characters.
Yeah.
They have a lot of impacts. The mercenaries, they do a lot of things, curses, and utility and stuff like that. It's a big one. But did you like how they played out overall in PoE 1?
Well, I mean,
as allies, in many ways, yes. There's a few elements I don't like. Again, it's pretty weird. I don't know how much detail to go in talking about this when we're talking about PoE 2 context, but there are some problems of. I don't like that you just end up putting uniques on them and it has minimal consequence in terms of their survivability. I don't like some of the I'm not entirely happy with the Doriani's prototype kind of situation. The combat with them itself, it's like you insta-die or they insta-die is often what happens. Not great. So that's the kind of thing where if we were to do it in PoE 2, they wouldn't just be recycled character skills and recycled character animations. It would be
a lot more consideration.
Well, even if it was, at least we have new animations. So you'd have a lot more telegraphing, a lot better fights. It'd feel like actual skill fights as opposed to just what is this ruckus going on right now? So there's ups and downs to it, and I'm not saying any of that will necessarily drastically change even within PoE 1 or when, but there would be things I would want to do, because I would say the combat of fighting them in PoE 1 is not meaningful. It's very much who dies first, and you don't even necessarily know why. So, but overall pretty fun. Overall pretty cool. Big change.
Very cool.
Yeah, genuinely pretty happy with how it turned out. To be honest, just a few bits and pieces that need some improving for sure.
Cool.
I wouldn't want to add them to PoE, something like that to PoE 2 that has such an impact on character builds when we don't even have a good stability within the build diversity and the build structure. I would say that kind of thing comes once once you've figured your stuff out, you know what classes are at a baseline, then you can add a lot more of that.
8 years or so maybe.
Yeah, well, hopefully not. Hopefully, we're not too far away from that being in a much better state, but these things are endless. So
yes, that's it.
We'll see.
Here's a funny question: can you sprint on a rower mount? Does the rower sprint?
So there actually was a plan for that, but
the rower is currently it's not sprinting. The rower is currently faster. It slows down a little bit when you're shooting.
Yes, that's right. I remember that.
Not slower than normal run speed.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So it is inherently faster than base run speed, but when you are attacking on it, it slows down. To
the old speed that it was.
Yes, so it is more competitive. So that it is more competitive.
So rower is faster, yeah.
But you can spec out. You can I believe spec out of that penalty even, and then you can. It kind of is so that when you're just running, it's more comparable to sprint and movement skill usage and stuff like that. Yes. So it's just it's faster. That's all there is to it, really.
Does the sprint work with blink? You teleport and start sprinting the same way that you
it won't. I don't think it will. You can, but it won't resume sprinting straight afterwards. I believe
if you sprint, blink, sprint.
I feel like I was trying this literally
What do
yesterday.
you mean? Sorry.
You don't just like blink and keep sprinting. It's a different action. It's an end there's an end animation to it. You'd have to go back into a sprint.
So no, but it does work where if you hold down and then you blink and then afterwards it sprints, right? Isn't that how it works?
Oh, in that regard,
Yeah, I think it is.
I would hope so.
Yeah, no,
yes,
that's how it works.
yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you meant you were sprinting and then you blink.
No.
It goes back into
you hold
it,
down, you blink, you go, you sprint.
you know, I could be just entirely wrong about how that other thing
We'll
works.
see when it's live.
I was doing it yesterday, I thought it was like, yeah, I understand why it's like this, but ignore me. I was probably just wrong.
No worries. Does the elemental damage mitigation from armor apply before or after resistances?
Isn't it before? Wait, so hang on. So you
and frost smooth.
No. You resist first and then you mitigate.
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure it's that way around.
It's the one that means the values have to be higher, so which means it's the order in where it's the less effective one, so because the values are quite high and juicy as a result. Yes.
Oh, okay, so in that case it will be.
I think it's pre.
In that case, it's you armor first, then resist. It will be.
I think that is what it is. Yes.
I love it. Fantastic reveal. I'm very excited to get into playing it. Thanks for spending a solid 2 and a bit
There
hours
it is.
chatting Q&A here. Very
Path of
fun.
Exile 2,
Half an hour,
0.3.
so.
Yeah, so I
good.
feel like I could spend another hour or two just talking about economy from like the impacts of the trading stuff is fascinating to me. I can't wait to see how
It was
that
our
plays
first
out.
Q&A where we didn't hold the patch notes hostage.
Yes, at
That's
a
a big
preset
change.
time.
Yeah.
I think that helped. People weren't like, stop holding them hostage.
Yeah.
They're just coming out when they're coming out. So we'll leave it there for now. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Thank you very much, Mark. And thank you all for watching.
Yes.
See you later.
Thank you, and thanks everyone as well.
All right.
See you later.
There it is. 0.3 Path of Exile 2 reveal. It is coming out August 29th. I would be on it. Once I look at the patch notes, I would try my best to see if I can make a leveling guide for you guys. And then we shall go from there. I'm very excited to see the changes in the Chronomancer for sure. I played that a lot, and then man, that was a lot to take in, really. I'm excited for the trade system. 100% that it's gonna be a major positive to the game. The new trade system, new act. I'm excited to see how the campaign continues with the story. The overhaul of the skill gems, having the ability to put on as much as support gems on other skills as well, not just limit to one. Really good. I like that change, actually. And yeah, and then the Abyss, the League mechanic with the new Abyss monsters. That's going to be fun. I've always liked the Abyss in PoE 1, so it's going to be refreshing to see how they do that in the second one. But yeah, I'm going to call it there for the stream as well. Thank you for everyone who joined in, lurked in Twitch and Kick chat and YouTube chat. Thanks for the subscription, Ashley. Shout out Ashley on Twitch. And I will be back on tomorrow, most likely with Hogwarts Legacy again to continue that. I will see if I can make a little summary video of what was talked about today. So catch that on Lugo HQ YouTube channel. So yeah, I will see you guys next time. Live safe. Bye.